How you start your website should be like how you start your day. I like to start with a fresh shave and a filtered shower. Then I'll prepare a fresh cup of Brita water to heat it up.
He's heating up.
Before I get a scoop or two of fresh ground coffee. I'll pour in the hot water into my French press. Then I'll let it brew, and this is where you gotta be patient, y'all. So in the meantime, I'll continue preparing by adding almond milk, because the regular milk just don't do the body good, if you know what I mean. Let's top it off with a little bit of that sugar, and yes, I said sugar, right before we press that launch button. And now it's time for blast off. Let's go! Woo! Oh yeah, and don't forget to stir it up some to blend in those flavors.
He's on fire.
And that's how we start fresh on WordPress.
He's on fire.
Welcome to Lesson 1. In this lesson, we're going to go over the framework of creating a website strategy for WordPress. So when it comes to creating a website strategy for WordPress, we're going to use a template, and you can grab that template for free in the description of this video. Building a website is going to consist of different processes or parts or areas that you need to look at individually. You also need to understand that these parts or these processes should all cohesively work together. So you don't want anything that is not supported by something else in your website strategy. And that's a very important thought process to keep in mind. We're not going to go deep into any of these sections, but I definitely wanted to give you a brief overview of what they are and why they're important for your success. So this is the table of contents within this website strategy. And we're going to talk about things like your website goals, your target market, your competitor analysis, your branding elements, your sitemap and customer journey, your UX design, your functions and features, your tech stack, which is the thing that everybody loves to talk about, your content strategy, your SEO strategy, your mobile optimization, your analytics performance optimization, your compliance and accessibility, your security measures, and lastly, your feedback mechanism. For your website goals, what we've done here is created some examples for you to use and think about when drafting out your own website goals. So you want to think about listing out your primary and secondary goals. And you can do so in these areas here. We have 3 primary goals, 3 secondary goals. You're not limited to any of these goals, nor do you have to fill out all these spaces. We just wanted to give you the area, give you some inspiration on creating your website goals. But this is the first thing you want to start with when building out your strategy, because if you don't know where you want to end up, how do you know how you're going to get there and what you need in order to get there? When it comes to website goals, you definitely want to think about your metrics. So that's the reason why we have listed here some metrics. This is not a one-size-fits-all list, but this is just some examples to give you some ideas. But some metrics that you want to think that are measurable, that are trackable. You typically don't want to have a whole bunch of metrics or even events, key events or metrics or conversions that you're not able to track. So keep that in mind. When it comes to your target market or your target audience, you definitely want to think about the fundamental demographics or the fundamental geographics or the fundamental psychographics, because those different key areas of your target market are what you're going to be using in order to make sure that you're building your website in the right direction. So that's why it's important, because you must think about your potential customer or client or a website user or visitor when it comes to building out your website. If you're not building out your website with them in mind, with as much details as you can get, then you are typically building out your website in the wrong direction. So no matter what kind of goals you have, unless it's your goal to fail, you want to make sure that you're also thinking about your target market's goals too. So that's why we have here things like their age, gender, their race or ethnicity, income level, marital status, occupation, location, interests, lifestyles, and if you are B2B, even the company size. And this is where firmographics come in. You also want to think about their needs and their challenges and their buying motivations. What makes them tick and what ticks them off, because those are two different things. So don't skip out on the target market phase, or don't skip out on target market research, because that is so important in order for you to reach success based on the traffic coming to your website. Now, for competitors, you typically want to do a very similar process, which is the research. Just like when it comes to your target audience, you want to research your competitors. And this is not an area that you want to sleep on or that you want to skip. So definitely make sure that you take some time to do fundamental competitor analysis. You can research anywhere from 3 to 5 competitors just to get you started. If I were you, I wouldn't just look at 1 or 2, and I would not go over 10. So a good 3 to 5 will get you started, so that way you don't overwhelm yourself or get analysis paralysis when you're thinking about your competitors. Now for your branding, and we do have a separate template just for branding. However, if you only had this website strategy planner itself, we wanted to make sure that you at least had areas where you can add your branding elements to. So you want to think about your brand strategy elements and your brand identity elements, and not just one or the other. When it comes to your brand strategy, you want to think about your mission and your vision, your tagline, your value proposition, and your core values. And then for your brand identity, you definitely want to make sure that you have your colors mapped out and that they are the colors that your target audience would prefer or would engage with. Because if you have colors on your website that don't match your target audience, well, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And once again, going back to the goals, it's going to be hard for you to reach your goals because you're not using a better way of attracting and retaining your audience by using color theory, by using colors to evoke emotions that will help you retain more audience because the look of the site matches what they want. So don't skip out on doing color research. Make sure you do your colors and your research. And there's so many tools to do color research or to create color palettes or color boards. Don't skip out on this. When it comes to your brand identity elements, starting with your colors, you definitely want to make sure that your colors are the type of colors that your target audience would be attracted to. Otherwise, you can end up detracting the audience that you want to be attracting. So everybody has a different way of doing color research or what type of colors they should use or what they call their colors. But for now, we can just say your primary colors and your secondary colors. You typically want to have about 2 primary colors, and it helps to have not just the hex code of the color, but to have the CMYK and the RGB. And the reason why is because you never know when you'll need this other way of adding your color in. And usually it depends on the platform you're using. Now, all platforms are created equally. They do things differently. So you want to make sure you have the hex code, the CMYK, and the RGB. And it's the same thing for your secondary colors. The difference between your primary colors and your secondary colors, you can have more secondary colors. It's not unusual to have multiple secondary colors, to have 3 or 4. For primary colors, you definitely want to stick with 1 or 2. But for secondary colors, it's all good to have a few of them. It doesn't mean you're going to use them all the time, but it does mean you have some options. You can be a little flexible when it comes to how you want to lay out your colors, especially when it comes to designing. For typography or your fonts, you want to think about the primary font and the secondary font, just like you would think about the colors. I see very often where people go crazy with their fonts or their typography. They have like 4 or 5 different fonts, and that's not good. Another tip that you can use is sometimes you just need to change the weight of the font. And that gives, or make it bold or italic. You don't have to use a whole different typeface or a whole different font type. You just need to adjust that particular one. And then you'll have some variety, but there'll still be consistency. And that is the key, consistency. So that's why I definitely want you to think about your colors and your fonts or your typography when it comes to your target audience. And your target market research should definitely give you a lot of supporting evidence on why you're going in the direction you're going when it comes to your colors and your fonts. Now, for your logo, you want to make sure that you have different versions of your logo, such as your horizontal version and your vertical version, just at minimum. Now, there are so many other ways you would want to display your logo, but at the fundamental level, make sure you have a horizontal version and a vertical version. Even though I know this looks square, but we calling it vertical over here. For your logo, you also want to make sure you have a brand mark version. Now, a brand mark is just typically something that you can stamp on anything. And the reason why this is important is because on your website, there is an area for what is called your favicon or your site icon. It's normally used in the tabs on a browser. Some people really don't take this seriously. And I always say that if you want to give a little bit of a cherry on top of your identity, this is a great way to do that because people will look at that as professionalism. Don't skip out on coming up with the brand mark. Normally, it's just the symbol that's within your logo and making sure that you actually plan it out, making sure that you actually document that. And then there's reversed versions. So when people are using their logo, there may be a time where you need to inverse it. It needs to be a different color. What does that look like? Because the background that your normal logo sits on, it matches too much of your logo. And so people can't see your logo. So that's where a reversed out version really helps. Now let's move to the sitemap and your customer journey. So for your sitemap, it could be just as simple as you writing out your home page. From there, what are the other connecting pages to your home page? The sitemap does not have to be a difficult process. Just draft out the home page and then make some connections to other potential pages on your website and then sub pages of those pages. So what are the main pages that come directly in your menu area on your home page? And then what are the sub pages if you decide to have something like a mega menu or a drop down from your main pages? What are those pages? That's when you're thinking about the sitemap and even the customer journey, because this is what they're going to be actually seeing on your website and going through their process of exploration. For your UX design, this is another area where I believe you don't have to make things overcomplicated. I know UX design is typically for more of a professional process. However, there are so many tools now that will help you with the UX design where you don't have to have a professional and you're just thinking about how you want your users to experience your website. And that's the reason why we have it come right after your sitemap and customer journey, because the next natural step is, okay, what are the key pages or sections? What's in those sections? How is design going to help support the user experience? Those are things you definitely want to think about when it comes to your website strategy. And normally this is a process where you're doing what's called a wireframe process. That's why we have these images here, because you're not designing the website, you're just structuring the website. And you can do that in a very simple sketch process. It's very similar when it comes to your mobile key features as well. We want to think about the overall user experience on the website when it comes to the desktop, but we also want to think about what is the difference between the desktop and the mobile experience. And when you think about that, it's just a great practice to just write that down so you don't wait to the last minute or you don't forget those things when it comes to building out your website. Now, there are times where your UX design or your UX process can be used interchangeably with the term functions and features. And there are times where people separate them. I like to separate them because they are two different parts or processes of the website strategy. However, they do work hand in hand. When you think about your user experience, you got to think about what are those things that are creating the experience. So that's why I can see people sometimes writing some of the functions and features inside of the UX design area, and that's okay. But if you wanted to separate them to get a little bit more granular and have a little bit more of a separation, what you can do is write your functions and features on a separate document or write your functions and features on a separate page. When you think about functions and features, your functions are usually the actions or processes, and your features are the tools or the assets that people are using. And that's why I wanted to clarify that, because sometimes people even use the word function and feature interchangeably. And you will find that they use it in reverse as well too. I found that people will call feature the actions and the processes, and they'll call functions the tool or the asset. But this is where everybody has their own process, has their own mindset, and there's no right or wrong answer, generally speaking. However, I have seen more and more where functions are categorized as actions and processes, and features are tools and assets. And these functions and features should always maintain the supportive measures of your user goals. So your functions and your features should always support your user goals. If you have something on your website, like some type of action that you want your users to take or process you want them to go through, and you don't have the right tool or the asset to match with that, it's going to be very hard for you to justify how it's going to help your user reach their goals. Now, here's the part that I mentioned in the beginning of the video where I believe everybody loves to talk about because it's dealing with all the glitz and the glamour, all the cool things, right? Which is the tech stack. So for your tech stack, you definitely want to list out all the technology you believe you need that will go on your website, starting with your hosting and going from there. And the reason why you want to do this is because you want to have all those things mapped out so you know what else you need based on those technologies that you're adding to your website. This is another area you don't want to skip. I see so many people overlook this, and then they go into WordPress and their WordPress repo, and they just start adding all types of plugins and things like that. Or they don't think about the technologies that they're using and how they're not integratable, how they're not compatible. That's a very dangerous game to play when you're adding technologies to your website and you can't integrate with these technologies, and these technologies are not compatible with each other, which causes conflict. And then you're going to have a lot of upset and angry users when your website is down or it's acting all wonky and jankety. Don't overlook the tech stack and how important it is. And just to give you a little bit more of that juice, because you know we like to give you that juice here at Iconic Templates, we've created a WordPress Tech Toolkit just for this section. So that way, if you are starting from scratch, you're starting fresh and you don't know nothing about WordPress, you can use this as kind of a cheat sheet to get you started. Here you can see we have a WordPress Tech Toolkit, and we give you some of that gold when it comes to your hosting, your backups, themes, page building, e-commerce, security, forms, your email, your automations, video, SEO, CDN, and other custom things that you want to do on your website. We have all these different categories covered. That's a word I don't hear people use enough when it comes to their tech stack is, are you covering the right categories so you know what technology to even use in the right categories? So for your hosting, we have a few different hosting options that you can use that we verified and we vouch for because we use these things ourselves. We either use them in the past or we currently use them. But I don't like to recommend a lot of technologies that I don't know I can personally verify. Sometimes, every now and then I will, based on a recommendation that comes from another credible source, but I typically like to be that credible source 80% of the time when it comes to technologies that I'm suggesting or recommending for you to use. I'm not going to discuss all these different platforms and apps. I will scroll through it so that you can see the things that are covered here And just like I said, when it comes to the website strategy planner, you can grab this in the description for free as well. So we have hosting, we have some hosting options here, backups. So we have some backup plugins as well. Themes. I know themes is a very sensitive topic, so I'm gonna skip past this, but we have some themes as well. Page building is the same way. Everybody has a specific type of way they wanna build out their pages. Do you wanna build out your pages using Gutenberg? Do you wanna build out your pages using the WordPress editor? And the funny part is, I'm gonna scroll back up, it's the same thing with the theme. Do you want to build out your website with a classic or a traditional theme, or do you want to build out your website with a newer block base or a full site editing theme? These are things that you definitely want to think about when it comes to your website strategy. So after page building, we have e-commerce. So what e-commerce tools or solutions are you going to be using on your website? Then we have security. What kind of security measures are you going to be taking? And we're going to touch on security later on in the website strategy. However, when you're at this tech stack area, this technology area, this is what a lot of your website strategy is going to be wrapped around, is the systems that you're building using these technologies. So security here. Then we have forms. How are you going to be collecting information on the website? Next, we have email. If you want to do email with WordPress, there are pros and cons to doing email directly on WordPress versus off of WordPress. I'll make another video describing those pros and cons, but for now, just know, what do you want to use when it comes to email? Do you want to use a WordPress plugin, or do you want to use a software as a service for your email marketing needs? Then for automation, what kind of tool do you want to use to help to automate processes and activities on your website? Do you want to use a tool that's more of a plugin on the website, or do you want to use, just like the previous email section, do you want to use a software as a service? So again, it's all things for you to think about when it comes to your automation needs. For video, very similar. Do you want to use a plugin for video on your website, or do you just want to embed YouTube or Vimeo videos on the website? Either way is okay. There's pros and cons to both. The question is what direction do you want to go? We also have SEO. What kind of SEO tools are you going to be using to help you with your SEO strategy? And then we have CDN, a content delivery network. CDN is not meant for everybody to use, and it can hurt your website if you're not using it correctly and using it for the reasons why it was created. So for CDNs, you got to think about, does your website have a lot of traffic coming from areas across the world, or areas where your dedicated server for your hosting platform is not covering? A CDN is very helpful with that. A CDN also helps with security, but at its base level, fundamental level, the main purpose of a CDN is so your content can display smoothly in other areas across the world or the globe, and those people have a very similar experience, if not the same experience, as people that are close to your main server that where your hosting is located. And for custom abilities, we have things like custom fields, and even custom scripts and dynamic content, right? So when it comes to customizing your website, you got to think about what are the tools that you want to use that will help you not have to add code to your website and also won't break your website. That's very important to know too. So let's go back. So see how the tech stack can get mighty stacky when you think about it, because even though you have this area here where you can list out the different technologies, you definitely want to take the time to learn these technologies. Make sure that they're compatible, they're integratable, make sure that they are user-friendly for your needs, so that way you're not falling behind when trying to maintain or keep up these different technologies. It's very important when it comes to your website strategy. For content strategy, what type of content is going to be on the website? What kind of topics are you going to be talking about on the website that would help you create your SEO keywords? What kind of media formats and what kind of channels, what media channels is your website integrating with? Is your website using as well too? All these things are very important when it comes to your content strategy. More important now than ever before, because people are consuming content like crazy. We're getting more spoiled on how we're delivered our content. So we want the smoothest process that we can have, or we're not going to come back to the website. So what is your content strategy? This could be a whole template itself, just on this topic. And it's the same thing for SEO. SEO strategy could be a whole template by itself, but we just wanted to consolidate all these different processes that can be their own templates. We wanted to consolidate that into one, and that's what we're calling a website strategy. So for SEO, we want to keep things simple here and think about things like your title tags, your meta descriptions, and your headings. And this is the area where you want to list that out. What are your headings, your H1s and H2s? How are you titling? What are your alt tags? What are your meta descriptions? Just use this area to draft it out. However, you'll probably get more deeper as you go into the website itself. But this is just to give you a start when it comes to building out your SEO strategy. For mobile optimization, you definitely want to take a look at other websites that you should be modeling. Because if you don't have an idea of what the mobile experience should look like, this is a great area for you to take some pictures, some snapshots, use your phone, and then add those pictures or snapshots to these areas or your own strategy planner that you may have outside of this one. That way you can think when it comes to your wireframing, when it comes to building out the pages, when it comes to your responsive design, this is gonna help you get closer to what you would consider, okay, this is it. This is what I like. This is the mobile experience that we're going for. But first start off with just taking a few pictures. For analytics, in the beginning of the video, we went over some metric examples. This is a great area where you would utilize those metric examples and add them here as far as how you're going to be tracking and measuring. You can also add some notes here as well, things that you want to look out for or things that you're not focused on, depending on whether you're a e-commerce business or a non-e-commerce business. You may have some different metrics and some metrics that overlap. This is the area where you want to think about what is most important to your website, and then what's the secondary most important activities or events on the website that you can track and you can measure. And it's very similar when it comes to your website speed and performance. So what is your website speed and performance process? What does that look like? What tools are you using? This is the area where you want to think about what does it look like? What tools are you using? How are you going to measure performance? How are you going to test performance? How are you going to test speed? This is definitely another area you don't want to skip because people are looking to have a fast and fluid experience. If you can't give them a fast and fluid experience based on your website performance, they're going to leave. They're going to bounce. They're going to dip. They're going to be gone. And sometimes, most times, they don't come back. So you got to think about that. Compliance and accessibility is more of a newer topic, and I'm going to save the details of this for another video. I'm even going to see if I can bring on a professional to help talk about this area here as well. But compliance and accessibility at the most simplistic level, you're thinking about how you're building out your website for people that have disabilities. Because most times we're thinking about building out our website for the average person who can see, hear, that can, that their eyes are good enough to be able to read content. They can hear sounds on the website, but that's not everybody. And it doesn't stop there. There are other people with more disabilities that need to be addressed on your website, so that way they can also have a very fast and fluid experience on your website. So compliance and accessibility are things like your keyboard navigation, the contrast and the color. Remember, we went over the color. So when you're thinking about building out those colors, this is another area where you want to make sure that your colors, even if they are what you would consider perfect for your target audience, are they still great when it comes to people who are disabled within your target audience? Fonts the same way. Are your fonts readable? Is the content legible? Do you have closed captions? Are your forms able to be accessed through navigation of the arrows on a keyboard? Can a person fill out a form if they had no type of trackpad or mouse? Can they fill out the form if they couldn't see? If they were blind, for example? You got to think about these things when it comes to building out your website. And we touched on security in the tech stack area when I had mentioned the tech stack is a big part of how you're going to think about your website strategy wraps around the technologies. because each technology you're using, there should be a process that that technology is addressing, right, on your behalf. And when it comes to security, it's the same thing. A lot of your security measures can be performed using a plugin and using the right hosting. Just those two things alone can help with 80%, 70 to 80% of your security measures, using the right hosting, using the right plugin. Then the other 30 to 20% are the others. What are the other things that you need to make sure is happening on your website so that way your website is secure and it's not threatened easily? And then last but not least, we have the feedback mechanism or your feedback process. So how are you gaining or getting feedback from your users, from visitors that are going to your website? How are you getting feedback from them in order for you to help improve your website? How do you optimize your website without that feedback? There's only so much you can do looking at analytics, looking at charts and graphs. Sometimes you just need to ask people what their experience is. And that's where a feedback mechanism or a feedback process really comes in. It could be as simple as you sending out a survey. It could be as complicated as you doing feedback groups, things like that. So you got to think about when it comes to feedback, how are you collecting feedback on your website? In this lesson on creating a website strategy for WordPress, I just wanted to go over the framework of what you need to be thinking about, what you should be planning out when creating your website strategy. And I also wanted to encourage you and let you know that you don't have to think about everything in the beginning and you don't have to do it alone. So keep those things in mind. There are people that can help you with building out your website strategy, and there are templates that you can use to build out your website strategy. So you don't have to start from scratch and you don't have to do it alone. Just to give you the grid overview, this is the website strategy planner template that we've created for you to be able to get for free. And again, you can find that in the description below. But just know that we're going to continue to optimize this planner. And when we do, if you are subscribed to our email list, you're going to get the next version of this planner. This is just version 1. Trust me when I say it's going to get better. My name is Maestro Stevens with Iconic Templates. And if you have received any value out of this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. And I'm out. Peace. Welcome to lesson 2. In this lesson, we're going to discuss a few things you may want to think about when setting up your WordPress website for the first time. If you're already familiar with WordPress, this may just be an overview or a few new perspectives you may want to think about. In order to demonstrate some of the things that I want to talk about, I want to use one of my favorite platforms called InstaWP because it gives us the ability to create staging sites, or you can call them demo sites. And it does it in a very easy and seamless way where you don't even have to think about it. You can just click a couple of buttons and now you have a website ready to go, and you can just use it for demo purposes, or you can use it for other purposes as well too. You would just go to instawp.com and you can click this try InstaWP for free. You click that button, put in your name and your email, look out for the notification that they give you to verify your account. And next thing you know, you're here in the back end of InstaWP. And the first tab you're most likely going to see is your dashboard. But we're going to click on this staging tab here. This is where you typically would create your new site. You can always do it from the dashboard as well here too. It says create your first staging site. But say it's your second site, you would create your second staging site here. InstaWP is very generous where they give you 3 free staging sites and enough storage to be able to add some plugins and do a few things. However, at the time of this video, if I'm not mistaken, these staging sites are set to expire in 6 days. So if you want to move your website off of InstaWP to another hosting, I would suggest you use a migration method. InstaWP also has the ability to migrate sites with their Insta Connect plugin very easily, but we'll save that for later. So if I were creating a new site, or if I were you creating a new site, I would click this button that says plus new. And you're going to see this interface here, this pop-up menu here that gives you the ability to pre-package or add plugins to your website before you even get in your website. Not just plugins, but themes as well too. I've already set up the ability for me to be able to have a theme and a plugin already on my website, but we ain't here for that. We're just gonna create an empty site right here. So that's why you see 0 themes, you see 0 plugins. You can also see, now this is more for people who are more into WordPress when it comes to the details of the versions and the PHP, a little bit of more of that developer nerd talk. I'm not just saying only developers talk about these topics, but I'm just saying that that's normally where you're going to hear a lot of these terminologies are for people who are more advanced in WordPress. So the WordPress version, the PHP, the location, other things like that. Now on the free plan with InstaWP, you can't change any of these. The only one that you're able to change is the WordPress version, but we're gonna keep everything as it is because InstaWP typically sets their default settings for general users or for the average user. Then you can go in there and customize things as you please. So I'm gonna click this Create Site button here, and look at how fast it just created the site. All I have to do next is create this magic login button. Before I do that, I just want you to see some of the details here. You have the URL, you have a username, and you have a password. You don't even need these things. So when you're back here in InstaWP, all you have to do is click this magic login button or click this magic login button here. I'm gonna click this magic login button, let it do its do, and voila, I'm right inside of WordPress. This, for beginners, is gold. Now, for advanced users, for longtime users of WordPress, this is still gold for us. But for beginners, oh my goodness, this is dope as, and because of that reason, it just makes diving into WordPress so much easier. You don't have to even have any other hosting platforms. You don't even have to buy hosting just to learn WordPress, just to get into it. You can use InstaWP, whip up a new staging site, and well, bam, you right here in WordPress looking at the latest version of WordPress. I'm going to dismiss these banners here, and now we have a blank slate. So just to get you familiarized with WordPress, because I'm going to save a more detailed way of setting up your WordPress website in another course. In this course, I just want to give you an overview and ideas of what you want to think about when building out your WordPress website for the first time. If you're new to WordPress, as you can see here, we have posts, we have a tab media, we have pages, we have comments, appearance, plugins, users, tools, and settings. Without you having any other special plugin or a reason why you would see something different, this is the typical default WordPress interface. This is what most people are going to see for the first time entering into WordPress. The first thing that I did was I got rid of a banner in the dashboard area. So that's why I just skipped the dashboard area when I was listing out the rest of these tabs in the menu, because we're already here. You have home, you have updates, but we ain't got no updates because we're on the fresh and the latest version of WordPress. Now, when you want to configure your WordPress settings, your default settings, because that's where I would advise the first place that you go, you're going to want to go here into this settings menu. And then you're going to want to hover over it. You can click it if you want, or you can hover. If you click it, it's going to go directly to the general settings here. This is where you would add your site title, your tagline, your icon, if you already don't have a theme, and fill out other information on your website that would make sense for your business or for your brand. It's the same thing for the rest of these settings here. For writing, you typically aren't going to really touch this except for this area up here. These settings here, most people aren't going to need to touch. For reading, you definitely want to set your home page. When you get a home page, when you have other pages on your website, you want to set up your home page. You're most likely not going to touch anything here unless you have specific reasons when it comes to your blogging. But hey, do your thing. And for search engine visibility, this is another area here where if you want to discourage search engines from indexing the site, you would have it checked. If you don't want to discourage search engines from indexing your site, you can uncheck it. All that means is it giving Google or the search engines, but I'm saying Google because Google pretty much is most of what we search on. it's giving Google a indication that you do or you don't want your site to be seen in Google. Now, when I say it's giving an indication, it doesn't mean it's telling Google this is what you better do. All it's doing is letting Google know this is what I prefer. Google's allowed to do what they're going to do. That's why it says it's up to the search engines to honor this request. So just keep that in mind. For the discussion, you can also fill out your discussion, and this has a lot to do with your commenting and your blogging. For media, if you want to change up the media settings, this is where it would be here. Permalink, your URL, same thing. If you want to change that up, this is where it's going to be. And then your privacy policy. The cool thing about WordPress is it already creates a default privacy policy that you can just edit. But you can also change your privacy policy to another page as well too. So when it comes to setting up WordPress for the first time, this is normally the area where you will want to do it. You will want to start here with your settings and then go from there. For adding plugins and themes, some people have different processes. Some people add plugins first, then their theme. Some people add the theme first and their plugins. There is no right or wrong answer. But when it comes to your theme, you want to go to Appearance and go to Themes and then click Add New Theme. And this is where you can add the themes that you would want to use. Now, you can only activate one theme at a time, but you can have multiple themes on your website. So just keep that in mind. You can only have one active theme at a time, but you can have multiple themes. You can install multiple themes on your website. There's nothing wrong with that because you may want to test out themes for different reasons. So it's okay to install multiple themes, but you can only have one active at one time. For plugins, this is the area where I see people get caught up in the most. This is where people make the most mistakes when it comes to building out their website and using technologies, aka the plugins, to build their website because they just add anything, or they don't do a good job on vetting the plugin, looking at cues or certain hints, clues, certain proof of concept, social proof, just ways that you can say, okay, this technology I'm adding is good. It seems that it's going to be good with my other technologies. You got to look at those things. It's very, very important. And what's cool about this process here is you can utilize the previous lesson when it comes to the website strategy and your tech stack and the technology in order to guide you on what you should even be using when you're back here in the WordPress repo or WordPress repository. You can use any word, doesn't matter. But when you're back here and you're searching for plugins, this is where when you built out your strategy, you're going to utilize a lot of the technology in your tech stack. You're going to find that right here. So that's why I say do your due diligence. Build out your website strategy first. Choose your technology, list out your technology. Then when you set up your WordPress website and you go back here, this is where you want to add your plugins. And now you know what plugins to add. Now you're not always going to find the plugin that you want back here. Sometimes there are developers that only offer their plugins on their own website, and that's okay too. Just make sure you do your homework so that way you know that they're a verified developer. They're good to go, and you're not going to have as many crazy problems in the future. You want to future-proof your website as much as possible. So again, this is the area where you want to add your plugins, and this is the area where you want to add your theme right here. Then once you add your plugins and your theme, you want to think about how you're going to maintain your website. That's where a maintenance something is going to help you out. So what we've done is we've created a maintenance manual and a maintenance checklist. So that way you can then pair your website strategy with the technology you're using and how you're going to maintain the website as well. So for your maintenance manual, we've created a template, and I'll link that in the description below. And with this manual, it's just a starting point. So that way you can write out all the technical information and details that are involved in maintaining your website on one document that not only you can have, but you can pass on to your team or whoever's helping you with your website. And that way they'll ask you less questions when it comes to what do you have? What is this? Where is it at? What's the password? Who's the hosting? Whoever is helping you should ask questions about your website so they know how to help you. And if you're helping yourself, you should still be asking yourself questions about your own website. However, the answers to a lot of those questions could easily be found on a website maintenance manual. So again, this is the area where you want to jot down all the details of your website. The technical information, what is the schedule going to look like of maintaining your website, aka your tasks. So you're going to have daily tasks, you're going to have weekly tasks, you're going to have monthly tasks, you're going to have annual tasks. What are those tasks? We've already written out what most of those tasks should be. However, you can go in here and edit this yourself that will fit your business or your website maintenance process. You also have roles. So yes, you've written down the task or tasks that your website maintenance is going to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly interval. However, who's going to be doing these tasks? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be a staff member? Is it an agency? Is it a freelancer? Is it your family member? Whoever it is, it doesn't matter. You need to know those roles, and it's helpful when you have them written out, like the name, the contact information. What exactly are they doing? So are they helping out with software updates? Are they helping out with server maintenance? Are they helping out with backups and technical support? What are they helping with? Who are they, and what is their contact information? So that way you can hand this document if you printed it out, or you can click a button and send the document to whoever needs it, whoever's relevant towards you, helping you with your website, and they can see exactly who it is and how to get in contact with them if they need to do so. And then we have a few troubleshooting or things that people typically will have problems with when it comes to their website or to WordPress in general. And this is just a few things that'll help give you some confidence or help give you some answers or direction when it comes to troubleshooting your website. So we wanted to make sure that we had this section as well on your website maintenance manual. And then when it comes to checking off the things that are being done on your website, or sometimes not checking them off, which we should be checking them off, we've created a easy DIY or an easy checklist for you to be able to say, hey, okay, I know who's doing what, I know what needs to be done. Now we need to have a way to be able to make sure it's getting done, to make sure we can see it has been done. That's where a checklist comes in. So you can easily just use this template as well to say, hey, we have daily and weekly and monthly and yearly tasks. It got done this month. It got done today. It got done this year. Easily from a check. Just checking off your list. Easy peasy. That's how it should be. So when you pair your website maintenance checklist with your website maintenance manual and your toolkit, whatever tech stack you're using, when you pair those together with your website strategy planner, you have a powerful combination of assets to use to not only strategize your website, planning it out, but also setting up your website and maintaining it. That right there is a huge benefit to creating a long-term or a sustainable website process, because you know what you're using, why you're using it, how it's going to be used, who's going to be maintaining it, and how we're going to make sure it is being maintained. In lesson 2, we've discussed how you can set up your WordPress website for long-term value and engagement, for sustainable practices. So that way you don't end up creating a website that just breaks down in a few days or a couple months, or gets all tangled up that you don't even know how to fix it. If you just use some of these methods that I taught you in this video, you should be setting up your website for success. That is the whole purpose of this lesson, is you setting up your website for success. If you got any value out of this video, please give it a like, And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. My name is Maestro Stevens with Iconic Templates. And I'm out. Peace. Here we go. It's that Mario right there. Welcome to lesson 3. In this lesson, we're going to discuss customizing your theme. And I'm just going to give you an overview on customizing your theme, depending on which direction that you want to go. And then I'll save the meat and potatoes for the official Start Fresh on WordPress course. So when it comes to customizing your theme, you got to think about, do you want to use, or are you using a classic traditional theme, or are you using a block-based, also known as a full site editing theme? Because there is a big difference. Right now, if I go to Appearance and I click on Themes, you can see that I have the 2024 theme already activated on this WordPress installation. Normally, you would see multiple themes if I had another theme installed, even if it's not activated. And you can only activate one theme at a time. So while I'm here, I'm going to install a classic or a traditional theme. That way we have both and we can see how they interact side by side and the differences between the experience when you're using one versus the other. So for those of y'all who know me, you know I rocks with Cadence. And for those of y'all who don't, well, you just found out. So let's install Cadence right here. That's all we need to do. I'm not going to activate it. See how it says the button activate right there? I'm not clicking that button. That's one of those times where you don't want to touch the button. And if you got anybody who has kids or you got kids, you know how it be when you tell them don't touch something, they touch it anyway. This is a case where you don't want to touch the button, okay? All right now I have the 2024 theme activated and ready. And then I got Cadence in the background ready to be activated when it's time to go in that direction. So for the 2024 theme, and when you're watching this video, you may be using the 2025 theme. I've heard some things about it and they have been very positive. So I'm excited to see the 2025 theme come out. But right now, what we got 2024. Let me go to the editor, and this is what's called the site editor. Now, if I had Cadence activated, it would be called the customizer, and you would see more options, but we ain't there yet. Right now, we're looking at the editor. So I'm going to click this button here, and now you'll see I'm in a whole different interface. Even though I'm still in WordPress, I'm still in my admin, I'm still in the back end, but I'm in a different interface when it comes to the customization of my theme, of the styling of my website. So again, if you're new to WordPress, this is foreign to you. If you're not new to WordPress, this might be a little familiar to you. We have navigation, styles, pages, templates, and patterns. Now, when you watch this video, because this is changing depending on, contributors, depending on feedback, depending on the updates that they get, this may look a little different. I can't ensure you that it won't or it will, but I'm just giving you a heads up that it may look a little different. But this is what we got right now. So for navigation, I'm going to click navigation here and see that we only have a sample page because this is a fresh installation of WordPress. This is a new website. I haven't done anything with it because I wanted y'all to get the freshness of, or the most fresherness of the possibilities that you can see. That probably didn't make sense to y'all, but it's all right. For navigation, we can click this edit button here. And now we're in the WordPress editor or Gutenberg, except we're not in the scenario where we're editing or creating a page. Because I know this can confuse some people. The interface looks very familiar, but it's like you're in a different place in the house. And so right now we're in the navigation, right? We can rename it. We can move it to the trash. I don't want to do that. And we can click it right here. See, we have sample. If I want to edit this menu, I would click this. And now we can add more blocks. We can add another page link, or we can create a list, or we can even add a button. There's a few things we can do, such as a custom link. There's a few things that we can do here in the navigation area. So just keep that in mind. That's how this works when it comes to being in the site editor and using a full site editing theme or a block-based theme. So keep that in mind, that is this experience here. For adding colors to the site, let's go back So that was the navigation when you want to add other pages or you want to update your navigation menu, because it did look different before. And a lot of people that are coming from the old ways of WordPress to the new modern ways of WordPress, and it could be a little confusing. I know for me it was. I'm gonna click the back button here, and then now we have styles. So when I'm talking about styles, I'm not talking about Styles P the rapper. I'm not talking about what's your style or what's your clothing style, your fashion style. We ain't talking about that style right now. We talking about the styling in WordPress on your theme when it comes to your colors and your fonts and other attributes. Right now, we're looking at the colors and color palettes, right? Different ways that we can show like, oh, wow, okay, I can just click this button and I automatically get a new style, a new set of colors added, which is pretty cool. I love that. And depending on what full site editing theme you're using, they're gonna have different styles pre-made for you ready to go. These are basically templates, y'all. Just letting y'all know, there's a whole bunch of different terminologies in WordPress being used now. And I can guarantee you most of those terminologies, for the most part, are just another word for templates. They're just templates. So we have our different styles here, and then we even have our palettes here. So if I click this, so see how I got styles, I got palettes, and I can just easily click this button and just preview, and the whole site changes just like that, really, really fast. So that's pretty cool. Keep that in mind. Now we have what's called a style book. You can get to the style book from many different areas. I'm just showing you one quick way to get to the style book. So here's one way to get to the style book. And the style book is another area where you're setting your website up in a global way. So you're pretty much doing a set it and forget it move. You are saying, hey, I want my headings to look like this, have this font, to have this size. And anytime that I'm on a page or a post or I'm creating something new in WordPress, it should still follow that guideline, that rule book. We'll call it that, a guideline or a rule book, however you want to phrase it. That's the whole purpose of this style book, is so that you can create this global or universal feel of your website, and then you can tap back into it as you want to. I think that's pretty dope, and it makes a lot of sense once you start getting used to it. So we have everything from our text styles, different type of texts here that we can change and make sure that when we add it to a page, it goes that way. It doesn't just go this random way that we didn't choose before, but it goes the way we want it to go because we set it up here in our style book. We have our media here as well, how you want your media to look, everything from images to even your audio player, cover files, text, video, your video player. Then we have design, which contains your buttons and your columns and your groups, so you can style all this up as you want to. And then we even got widgets. And with widgets, again, you can create a global or universal feel with them that makes it so much easier when you're building out your pages or your posts in WordPress later. Boom, you set it here and everything should look the way it should look based on what you set here. Now, here's the thing, and then we also have the theme. But the reason why I said here's the thing is because a lot of people don't take the time before they go in here to iron out the kinks in their branding or their brand identity. And if you actually take the time to create, to craft, to build your brand identity, you can use AI as an assistant. There are templates out there. We have a template ourselves. Whatever route you decide to go, that should be the tool, the asset that you use in order to be able to say, okay, when I get in here, I'm not stuck. When I get in here, I'm not just guessing things. When I get in here, I can take from what I have in the brand identity or my brand guidelines, whatever you want to call it, and you can use that in order to set up your styling here in the style book. So that's a key thing that I think a lot of people don't take in account before they even get to this style book area. They don't do their due diligence when it comes to their branding. And I can't tell you how much that'll save you a lot of time and effort. So I'm going to click this WordPress logo here to go back. And now we're back in the styles area right here. Now, if I click edit styles instead of the style book, because before I just clicked on the style book, now I'm clicking on edit styles. So now you see how the only thing that happened was that left sidebar just moved out the way on some ludicrous move. Get out the way. It just moved out the way, right? So now we have, again, Gutenberg. Even though we're not technically building out a page, we're not technically building a post, but we still are in the WordPress editor, aka Gutenberg. And that's something that they strive to do, WordPress and the WordPress team, to make it more uniformed. Now, there are a lot of people that have their opinions about this experience on making things uniform, that it kind of feels incomplete and it still feels kind of like it's everywhere. I'm gonna save that for new videos or for other videos, but I'm just giving y'all a little bit of that Blues Clues right there. I was born in the 80s, but I'm a 90s baby, so if you know anything about Blues Clues, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so now we're here. On this right side here, we have browse styles, typography, colors, shadows, and layouts. And remember how I said you can get back to the style book from multiple places? Well, if I click this button here, look at that. We have the style book again. So that's something that I do like about WordPress, that they did find some really, really great ways to allow you to get to the same place from different areas, depending on where you're at. But you can always end up in the same location. You can always end up in the same direction. And that's kind of cool. So let's go back here. Let's click on Browse Styles and see we have those styles that we saw before when we had that left sidebar over here. So let me click back here. And then if I click typography, we can see that we have our fonts right here. If you click on this Manage Fonts button, you have your library. You can upload fonts and you can install fonts with Google Fonts, which is pretty dope. I'm gonna go back here. Colors, same thing. I have the palette. Remember how we saw that palette before? So we have our color palette right here. We have our palettes. We can create more, and we have our gradients. This is pretty dope, y'all. This is pretty dope because WordPress didn't always have this. Then we have our elements, our text, our background, our link, our captions, our button, our headings. This looks familiar. Where else do we see this at? Well, right here, we saw it in the style. We saw it in the text, right? That's big. That's big. And some things in the design. So just letting you know that that's pretty huge when you're looking at the fact that we can get to multiple places from the same area. I'm going to close it out. We'll go back. And now we have shadows. This is also pretty dope to be able to have these shadows. And I'm talking to people who don't know how to code, don't want to learn how to code, never knew how to code. Coding ain't happening. It ain't happening with them. This stuff right here is what's going to help you avoid having to code, having to have extra things help you out in this. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Even though you don't like to code or you don't have to code, let me drop you a gem real quick. You can always go to ChatGPT or Claude at the time of this video, because Claude is doing better right now. I rock with them both. I use them both. I actually have them check each other. You know, who's watching the Watchmen? You know what I'm saying? Who's doing the checks and the balances? I have them check each other like they cousins. They check on each other. It helps me out even more. So you got to think about that. If you don't want to code, you need something else to help compensate with that. Either you're going to use some type of AI or you're going to use a native feature or an external feature so you don't have to do any coding to get the customization that you need for your website. I'm going to click back here, and then we have layouts. So we have our layout so we can determine how the spacing is with our website, how wide, how thin it is, all those nuances, we can determine that, and we also can add a background image. So that's what layout is all about. The content, the width, the padding, the margins, the list goes on and on and on. Then we also have blocks, so we can customize the appearance of our blocks. We can make our blocks in a template form, so we can say, okay, with this block, we always want it to be this way. Every time I drag this block from the block editor right here, or from the, what do they call this? The block inserter. So every time I drag a block from the block inserter, it's going to take the settings, the way I set it up, it's going to take that setting right here, and it's already going to be there. Time saver. And we're all trying to save time, especially when we are doing things ourselves or we don't have time. You know, you ain't got time, then you're trying to save time. Either you're spending time to save money or you're spending money to save time. But you can't have both. So you have to keep that in mind. All right. So I'm gonna click out of that right there. And then for people who want to add a little bit of code, some styling to it, some styling code, that's what CSS is all about. That's where, as I mentioned, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever, alternative, you can add CSS right here. Just go to one of those tools, have it whip you up something, and then have it help you add the CSS right here. I mean, it's so crazy. You can even take a picture and say, hey, here's the picture. I need you to help me add some code into it. And it will create code from an image. Come on, y'all. We got to think smarter, not harder. So let me get out of this real quick. I'm going to exit out of the styles. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense when it comes to your styling with the website and customizing your WordPress theme to give you the feeling that you want before you start building out your pages. You can always come back here and change things, but this is a way you can customize it to give you that feeling that you want before you start building out your pages. So let's go back. Let's go back. What did Leah say? Back and forth. All right, now we have pages here. So we did the navigation, we did the styles. Let's do the pages here. So here we have pages. If I wanted to add a new page, I can add a new page here. You can also add a new page in the WordPress admin area. So I guess technically this will be the site editor, and then when we go back, it's technically the WordPress admin area. I'm not that keen on the terminology, so if I mess up, y'all, go ahead and correct me. It's all good as long as you know what I'm talking about. But if I wanted to add a new page, I can add a new page here. But that's not what this is about. Templates. So here we have templates. Now, the way that templates is being used here, in my opinion, it can be a little confusing because you have things called templates here, but then you also have patterns, which are also templates. So it's just that thing where it's like, I mean, terminology, we got to get it together, WordPress, but it's all good. Now, when it comes to, let's go back. For those who are wondering, well, how do I add my logo? And you can always go to settings and you can add your site icon, your logo right here. This is where you can add your site icon, your logo, your favicon. You can add that right here in your settings. So just give you that quick thing right there. Now, if I go back to themes and I activate Cadence, so remember, we were using a block-based theme before. Now we're going to see the experience from using a traditional theme or a classic theme. We're talking about this without a page builder. We have no page builder on here. This is all natural WordPress, all natural. That's what it is right here. That's what we're seeing. All right. So now that we have Cadence activated, as you can see, we have more options. We have patterns, we have customize, we have widgets, we have menus, we have Cadence themselves, and then we have the theme file editor. We didn't see these options when we had the 2024 theme activated. So I want to let you know that is a big difference. When it comes to customizing Cadence, the theme, you would click on this button called Customize. And this goes for any theme, traditional classic theme. Click on Customize. And now we're here in the old school way of customizing your theme. Now, some might say this is their favorite way. This is how it should be. But that's okay. But this ain't what it is, and this ain't what it's going to. So we have colors and fonts. If I wanted to customize my colors and fonts, I would go here. Boom. We have our colors. We can add color palettes right here, multiple color palettes. Every theme is going to look a little different, but I'm just giving you the gist, just the gist. So if you're using a different theme, it may look a little different, but you'll still be back here in the customizer if you're using a traditional theme. We have our buttons. We can customize our buttons here, and then we have our typography. We can customize our typography here as well. So that's key that you need to know when it comes to customizing your theme, depending on the route you want to go, whether it's the full site editing, block-based theme route, or it's the traditional classic theme route, you're going to have a different experience, and you need to understand that and know that, because if you don't, you're going to get frustrated and you're going to get lost like the lost boys in the woods. You don't want to get lost. It's lonely when you're lost. Sometimes you don't get found. So I'm just letting you know that's what you want to do. Adding your favicon or your site icon, you can add that right here. You can change your page and your post layout. So remember how we did the layout when it came, I said the padding and the margins and the layout when we came to full site editing theme? Here's how you would do it with a traditional theme or a classic theme. And again, depending on the theme you're using, these tabs here or these menu items here, they're gonna vary. They're gonna change depending on what theme you're using. So don't get stuck on looking at this and you're using a different theme and you like, Maestro done stood me wrong. I don't see what he sees. That's what I'm telling you. You're gonna see something different if you're using a different theme, but it will be very familiar. It will be similar. I'll put it like that. It'll be similar. So we have colors and fonts. We have the page layout, header and footer area here. With Cadence, what I like about them, and there's other themes that do the same thing, is it's a drag and drop header and footer area. So right now I'm in the header, drag and drop. I can move these things, boom, boom, boom. I'll go into this deeper on the official course, but that's what you can do. We have the footer, same thing, drag and drop. So I can even add a little widget here. Look at that, look at that. Look how smooth that is. Boom. What else we got? Menu. We wanted to update our menu and add more navigation here. We can do that here as well. There's another place in WordPress where you can do that as well too. CSS. Remember how I showed you how we can add CSS to the full site editing theme? This is how you would do it with Cadence. So there is very much some similarity or overlapping functionalities between the two routes. You just have to understand the difference. That's pretty much it. And that's what I wanted to show you in this lesson for Start Fresh on WordPress. And hopefully you got some value out of this lesson, and we're gonna rock out in the next lesson. My name is Maestro Stevens with Iconic Templates, and I'm out. Peace. Welcome to lesson 4. In this lesson, we're gonna discuss building out pages using the WordPress editor or Gutenberg. We're not talking about a third-party page builder. We're talking about using the native way of building out pages with WordPress, although I am going to show you using core blocks, the native blocks of WordPress, and using third-party blocks. Either way, we're talking about building out web pages with the WordPress editor. That's the key here. That's the key. So let's start off with some preliminary things here. Right now, I am using the 2024 theme. I have this activated. In the previous lesson, you can go back there and see the difference between the two, the 2024 theme and a theme that is a classic or traditional theme like Cadence. But right now, I'm just letting you know I'm using the 2024 theme, and I'm going to flip the switch over to Cadence once we get to that part. Let me go to plugins, and I saved this for this video, so that way you can see me install the plugin. But I'm going to install Cadence blocks. I want to have that handy and ready. So I'm just going to install it here. This is a third-party block plugin that gives you more functionality outside of the core blocks that WordPress comes with out the box. I'm not going to activate it yet. I'm going to leave it unactivated so you can see I have only Cadence blocks as a plugin installed on this website, and I'm using the 2024 theme that's currently activated. So let's go to pages, and I'm going to go to add new, and let's go over to the new page. So this is something that you'll notice when you have a block-based theme activated. I'm not sure if this is any kind of block-based theme or if it's only WordPress's 2024 or something like that. But I notice when I open up a page, this pops up. And I've opened up a page before, so it's interesting that this pops up either way. You can always exit out of this because we don't need to choose the pattern right now, even though you could if you want to. And we'll get there in a second, but let's slow our roll, okay? We need to slow our roll. So what we want to do here is just look at some basic things. I'm going to click this toggle block inserter or this plus button here with this blue background. And we can see we have 3 different sections. We have 3 different menu items. We have 3 different toggles, whatever you want to call them. But we have 3 different things here. We have blocks, we have patterns, and we have media, okay? So with blocks, we can see that we have blocks based on different categories. I like that because it helps us compartmentalize what's going on here so we don't think it's just a whole bunch of spaghetti being thrown on the wall. Even though there are some people that try to call WordPress that, and it ain't true, those myths have been dispelled and debunked multiple times. However, I like things that are organized and compartmentalized. So we see we have these text blocks here. We have media blocks here, design blocks. We have some widgets. We have some theme-based blocks. We have embeds. And there we go. As Lil Wayne would say, the block is hot. All right, so we have these different blocks here. And with WordPress, what I love about the WordPress editor, because it didn't used to always be this way, that's why we start on fresh, we can easily drag and drop. Now, when you drag anything, you'll notice that there's a little blue line there that's letting you know where things are gonna go. So if I click here, boom, right underneath it. What is kind of cool because we are using right now, and as a matter of fact, we're gonna double check so we know for sure. I'm going to the dashboard. We're using WordPress 6.6.1 currently with this video, 6.6.1. Not too long ago, it was a different experience. So this is even a new experience when it comes to the way we drag and drop in the interface and what things look like. And, I'm getting used to it. There was a lot of positive things I really liked about this. And there's some things that, they gotta work their way up to my liking. However, let's go back up here to heading, put one above, boom. We have a heading there. Go to table, I could put it, let's see. I'm purposely just adding things in random places just so the people who don't know about how this works, they can get an idea, because there's just so much controversy around WordPress being hard in terms of building out a page. Now, I know it could be a little different, but being hard, I mean, this is the same thing Squarespace and Wix is doing. Boom. All right, I just drag and drop. And you don't even have to drag and drop. I can literally go here and just like click, and there it goes. I can drag and drop, or I can click. Either way, I don't even have to drag and drop or click. I can go here and I can add it from here as well too. So they give you multiple ways to add blocks to your page. I think that's awesome, and it's something that shouldn't be overlooked. So that's one thing. Keep in mind, again, I'm using the core blocks of WordPress. I'm using the native blocks. You don't see anything else here. You don't see cadence, because remember I said I added cadence here. You don't see cadence. So that's something key for you to know. Now, if I wanted to undo some things, I can always undo this right here. Boom, 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 boom. I love that about WordPress as well too, to be able to undo things. So that's key right there. And then let's click over here. If I wanted to see the block settings, like, so if I click a block, and while I have this open, let's click the list. Let's go over here. Let's click the document overview, and then we have the list view. And so now, as you can see, depending on where I click at, the settings change over here. This is something that I love as well too, because it just makes it so much easier for you all to see what's going on. Where am I at? Well, click the document overview. Now you have the list view. Now, this outline is dope. It's really cool when you're using the core native blocks of WordPress. As far as I know right now, they don't necessarily have it compatible or completely compatible with third-party block plugins. So when you're like, okay, you have 1,000 characters or 500 words on the page or whatever the case is, you got your H1s, your H2s, but you're using something else, but you don't see nothing here. That's why, because you're not using the core blocks of WordPress. So you just got to keep that in mind. So for instance, if I added let's go back and add the calendar here. And now we have calendar settings. If I click here, list view, calendar, boom. So you see how I can easily just navigate, and you can also move these. I like that. Hey, Mikey, I think he likes it. I think that a lot of people who don't know WordPress or aren't used to WordPress, they think otherwise. They think that WordPress doesn't have its capability, and it does. You're seeing it right here. That makes a big difference, y'all. When it comes to saving the draft, saving this page, I can save the draft, I can publish it. If I want to view different screen sizes, I can see them right here for responsiveness. And then we have our options over here, where if you wanted to have a distraction free or you want a spotlight mode, you can do all this stuff. We'll get deeper into that a little later in the official course, but I'm just letting you all know that's key. Something that I think a lot of people be sleeping on, I'm just going to drop you off the gym now. Copy all blocks. What I love about WordPress is you can copy everything and then you can paste it on another page. A lot of people don't know that you can do that very, very easily. So that's something that you might want to think about when you're making your pages, that you can copy all the blocks and you can paste it somewhere else. And then here we have preferences. If you wanted to adjust some preferences on the page, and they'll stick this way. So when you open up another page or you do another page, it'll still be this way. The setting will still be there. You can also do that as well. So just keep that in mind, that you can even decide whether or not you want blocks to even show on this side. So if I said I don't want no media to show, because sometimes y'all don't want the media to show up at the party, or you don't want the media, as they say, TMZ. You don't want TMZ showing up everywhere. They catch you off guard. So I'm gonna undo that. There is no save. So I'm gonna click that. Let's go back to the blocks. Do we see media in here? No, we don't. Media's gone. So that's one way you can hide things that you don't believe you need or you won't use easily, by untoggling it, the whole category or the whole section, or a block at a time. Very, very helpful, y'all. Very, very helpful. That is, we have the block inserter. We have the blocks here. Then here we have patterns. So if you want to use patterns that come from the theme, You can use patterns as well too. If I click this, look at that. Look at that. Look at how fast that was. Boom. Patterns are templates. I know they're called patterns, but they're still templates. So just keep that in mind. And then with WordPress, they have the open verse, which gives you access to copyright-free images. They're still working on this. There's still some kind of regulation behind this. So in my opinion, I still would use something like a Pexels or a Pixabay or Canva, et cetera, et cetera. But this is cool if you just want to stay in here in WordPress. It's all good. It's all good in the neighborhood. And there you go. So this is pretty much the WordPress editor, aka Gutenberg. If I go here and I wanted to move things around, so if I want to move things around here, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this. We have this whole section here. Let's put this at the top. Now we got the section at the top. Let's bring it down to the bottom. Now we got it at the bottom. I mean, that's drag and drop. So I don't know where people be getting this whole WordPress ain't drag and drop friendly thing. We got to kill that vibe. We got to kill that notion, y'all, because that ain't true. It ain't true at all. All right, so let's get out of here. I'm going to leave this. Now, I could save it as a draft or publish it, but you know, we don't even need to do all that. I'm going to just get out of here. The cool thing, though, is if you stay in there long enough, it's going to save as a draft itself. So if I go back to edit, look, y'all, it's here. It's here. So I would save as a draft when need be, but just know that WordPress does have an auto save feature. You just got to be careful with it. Okay? Just keep that in mind. So let's go back to plugins here, install plugins, and let's activate Cadence blocks. Now we're only going to activate Cadence blocks. We're not going to activate the theme because I want you to see the difference between the two. So I'm going to go back to pages. I'm going to add a new page. Now we have Cadence blocks on here. And with Cadence blocks, it adds more functionality to WordPress. It adds more functionality to Gutenberg because these blocks that WordPress makes natively, they're good, but sometimes they lack some functionality that would have you have to make up for that functionality using code. We don't have time for that. So that's why blocks like Spectra, Cadence, and there are many, many more. I'll add them in the description if y'all want some, or we can put them in the comment section. But when you use these blocks, it just gives you so much more functionality. So for instance, the text block right here, if I open up my block here, the settings, my block settings here, not the page, but the block, you can see I have all these settings here for text. If I go back and I go to text here, paragraph, they don't call it text, they call it paragraph. Notice how they separate paragraph from heading, whereas Cadence, it's all the same. You have a few settings here. So that's one key thing to note why you may want to add a third-party plugin to your website instead of just using the core blocks by themselves is because you'll get more settings, which means you'll have to do less coding or you'll have less limitations. I mean, that's just the key way to say it. But that's it. I'm not going to go over too deep on the blocks or what blocks you should use. We're going to save that for later, but I just want to let you know that is a difference. That is a key difference too. Also, notice how if I click on this button here, we have some color palette settings. We have block visibility, block editor, default editor block, import, export, reset. So we get some new functionality that came from Cadence plugin just by installing and activating the plugin. We have some new functionality just in general on how we use our blocks. They call them Cadence blocks controls. I love that. We also have now access to a design library, which is also templates from Cadence. And they also call them patterns. So they have patterns and they have full pages, which is cool. You can use both the patterns from Cadence right here, and then you can also use the patterns from the theme, 2024 theme, or whatever theme you're using right here. Explore all patterns. You have the best of both worlds. That's pretty cool. So it's just something for you to notate when you're building out your pages that depending on what third-party block plugin you're using, you might have some type of design library. They call it different things, but you'll have some type of template option up here. I don't know if you have like 5 different plugins on your site that have blocks. I would advise you use only up to 2 external third-party block plugins. But if you have a whole bunch, what happens up here? I ain't gonna test that theory right now, but I'm just curious. Does anybody know? Let me know. Either way, we have patterns here and we have some patterns in here that come from the plugin. And if you're feeling froggy and you want to leap, you can use Cadence AI, but that's a different topic for another day. We ain't there yet, y'all. We are not there yet. All right, so let me get out of here So I just showed y'all some things. And now let me add the Cadence theme. So I'm going to activate theme. And now we have Cadence blocks activated and Cadence theme activated. Now let's go back to pages. I'm going to add new page again, and let's see if the experience changes a little bit. Again, we're still in Gutenberg. That don't change. We are still in Gutenberg. We still have Cadence blocks here. But now we have a new icon. We have a new page settings. We have a new option here, right here, page settings. This comes from Cadence theme. There are a lot of people that get confused sometimes. And I know I've gotten confused in the past. So that's why I'm explaining to y'all right now what it is, because of the fact that now we can control our theme and how our theme looks right here on the page. We can control the page layout, the title, transparent header, disable the footer, or header, enable the footer. You know, the list goes on. That's all right here, the page settings, but this right here is for Cadence blocks. So just know that this is for Cadence theme. This is for Cadence blocks. This is WordPress in general. You're gonna see this no matter what in WordPress, but these two are based on Cadence. You won't see these if you don't have Cadence on your website, or whatever theme or block plugin you're using. They may add their settings here as well too. Controls or settings, whatever you want to call them, it's all the same. Let's see if I click this, does anything change? So we have Cadence block controls, page settings. It's going to open up, it's going to do the same thing. So whether you click it here or you click it there, it's going to do the same thing, y'all. So it's just something for you to notate, something for you to keep in mind. And hopefully you got something out of this video. Just, you know, some introductory stuff on the difference between using the core blocks, third-party blocks, and then what happens if you use some type of traditional or classic theme versus using a full site editing theme. What is that difference? What is the experience? My name is Maestro Stevens with Iconic Templates, and I'm out. Peace. Welcome to lesson 5. In this lesson, we're going to discuss creating basic marketing and sales funnels with WordPress. Now, let me first show you all some of my tutelage or my toolkit set up here. And I want to give you all some thought processes on going in different directions, because when it comes to creating basic marketing and sales funnels with WordPress, there are so many different routes you can go. So I encourage you to test what you want to test, do your thing, go the route you want to go. But I want to share with you and show you some options that I believe are very good to use. And then it gets your mind thinking of what are the alternatives if these options don't fly with you. So that's just how I like to approach things. I've already installed some plugins, you know, just to save some time. And I'm going to uninstall or I'm going to activate and deactivate certain plugins based on what we're going to be covering in this lesson. However, right now at the basic level, I am using Cadence for the most part. So I'm using Cadence blocks, the free and pro version. I'm using Cadence conversions, which is a pop-up builder. And I'm also using the Cadence Pro or Cadence Theme Pro add-on. For my e-commerce, my first e-commerce option, I'm going to start off with Shortcart, and that is the e-commerce plugin. And the second option is going to be WooCommerce. Now, you don't want them activated at the same time, so that's just a disclaimer. I'm letting you know. I just have it here installed, but it's not activated because I want you to see both routes. Now, the cool thing is with Shortcart and WooCommerce, they're both e-commerce plugins. They're based off of your needs and what you want. Shortcart is a headless plugin, and WooCommerce is a self-hosted plugin. And I actually have a video that you can watch the difference between WooCommerce and going the Shortcart way. So I won't get too deep into that one. I'll tag that video or add that video to this video. However, I just wanted to let you all know that. Now with WooCommerce, when we use that plugin and we go that direction, we're going to pair it with another plugin called Cart Flows that'll give us the ability to have more flexibility or more control over WooCommerce in order for us to think about how we want to create our marketing and sales funnels. I wanted to let you all know that just up front. That's how we're going to do this. Now, for marketing funnels, I'm going to keep it super, super simple. I'm not going to overcomplicate things. We're not going to turn this into a what is a marketing funnel and a sales funnel lesson. I just want to give you the ideas and the overview of how you can approach doing that with WordPress. When it comes to marketing funnels, I'm typically talking about creating a 1 or 2, sometimes 3, but a 1 or 2 step process that collects information from a user. That is the key thing. It's collecting information from the user. So we're not thinking about a marketing funnel as in you doing email marketing campaigns or you doing Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn advertising. We're not talking about those kind of marketing funnels, just a simple, how are you able to collect information from the user and what happens next? When it comes to that, the best way to do that is going to be some type of form. Because it's like, okay, you can market to somebody in some ways when it comes to just informing them of information. But when it comes to the collection of information, well, how do you get them in your email marketing tool in the first place? And a form is the best way to do that. For instance, I'm going to go to pages here. I'm going to click add new page. And now I'm in Gutenberg. I'm going to click this toggle inserter here, and I'm going to look for Form Advanced. This is one of my favorite forms from Kadence because they have 2. They have this Form Advanced, and then they have Form. So we're going to do Form Advanced because this is what you want to use when it comes to the marketing aspect of things. This regular form, in my opinion, is better off used for contact or for simple form creation. But if you want to get a little bit more complicated, we want to use the Form Advanced right here. So I'm going to click this. And it says select form, but I haven't created any forms. So just think about that. When you start creating forms, you'll be able to select from the forms you create. It will save you so much time. So that's one key thing. I'm going to click create new form. And an example would be, let's do contact with options. Just as an example. Matter of fact, no, let's just do subscribe with name. Let's just do subscribe with name. And we can choose the style. Do you want infill? Do you want dark? I like how they've added these new infield and underline selections here, but we'll keep it basic for right now. Not because we basic, we just gonna keep it basic to keep it simple because we ain't basic around here. All right, so we have give your form a title. I'm just gonna let it be that. And form description, there's no need for a description right now, not for these purposes. Simply put, we have a name field and an email field. And it looks like that's it. Like, where do we go from here? Well, if you click this right here, and for instance, you open up the settings, you can see that we have controls. We have the field controls. I can change the label, show the label, add a placeholder. We have some options here. In advance, I can do a couple of things as well too. Field name, field autofill, first name, last name. This is actually pretty cool. I really do like this, that Kadence gives you these abilities and you can decide to make it conditional or not. You can hide this, show this if this says this and this says that. We'll save that for later in the official course. But this form here is very robust. For it to be a block and not a separate form plugin, this is very robust. So kudos to Kadence for this. Now, if we want to get the actual settings of the form, we don't just want to click on this block here. We want to click on the form, the whole thing, right? So boom, when I click on the whole thing, notice how the settings over here changed. Now we have settings over the whole form, which makes it a big difference on what we see. This is where things get sticky, y'all. This is where the juice gets good and it's worth the squeeze. So when it comes to this, we have submit actions. What is submit actions? Simply put, when somebody submits, what happens next? Kadence gives you a lot of options. They even give you native ways in order to connect to your email marketing tool. Now, because I'm using the pro version of Kadence blocks, we have more abilities. But even if you're using the free, you still get a lot, okay? Natively, from Kadence alone, we have active campaign, auto respond, Brevo. Wow, I didn't know send in blue, change the name. Okay. Convert Kit, Fluent Form CRM, Get Response, MailChimp, MailerLite, redirect, and webhook. So these are what happens next. So for instance, if I wanted to connect this form to my MailChimp account, so when somebody enters an email and I want to push them into my subscriber list with MailChimp, I would click this right here. And notice how now we see email settings. And all you have to do is put in your API key for MailChimp, add that right here, and then your lists will come up, or audiences. I forgot how MailChimp does it because MailChimp is different. Every different email marketing tool has a different way how they categorize subscribers, right? So it's either going to be some type of list, some type of tag, some type of audiences, something like that, where you'll pull that up here and then you can add them there. That's key. For email settings, notice how I have this email. Now, these two were automatically there. I added MailChimp, but these two are automatically there. So for email settings, this is after the form is submitted, who gets an email. Sometimes you may want to get an email. It's very helpful to have this out. So you would fill in your email right here, and then when somebody submits the form, you would get an email. Some people like that, some people don't, but I want to let you know that's what that's for, because there's been many times where even I've gotten confused when I first started using this. But now I know what I know, and I know better, I do better, we grow better. So you have email right there, you have MailChimp, then you have database entry settings. Well, what does that mean? The good thing about this is not only can you toggle on saving the user's IP address. Now, this goes more for like privacy controls or GDPR, all those other things like that, right? Regulation, right? And it says save user device, saves the entrance device with the form data. So what device they use. That's actually pretty sweet as well. All this information goes over here to the back end. So if I go to Cadence and I go to forms, right here, Cadence forms, and we have form entries, we can see we have settings for the form. We can make forms right here, add new form. And then when somebody actually submits a form, we'll see the entry right here. And this is where that data is collected. So that's pretty sweet. Something that you guys got to know and you got to look at to be able to see this. You can make forms right here. You don't have to make forms in the Gutenberg editor, but also not only that, you can see the entries of the forms. Now, right now, I don't have analytics turned on, but if I had analytics turned on, I would also be able to see analytics, which is actually pretty cool. If I click this, it's going to open up the form. This is where people will get confused because they'll say, okay, I'm in Gutenberg again, but am I on the page that I was adding the form to? No, this is almost like a separate experience. Same interface, you do the same things, except now you're only editing the form. Right here, the beauty is that I was able to add the form block and create a form on the page. But if I just wanted to create forms and edit the form by itself, this is the way I can edit the form by itself right here. So that's something I know can confuse a lot of people, but keep that in mind is that this is how we're able to edit our forms right here. And again, I don't have any analytics enabled, so we're not worried about that right now, okay? So let's click this, let's close that. So we have, again, email marketing tool settings, database entry settings, and then we have our messaging settings. Our messaging settings are about what message or what happens next. For instance, a success message. That kind of message helps give people indication on whether or not they submitted the form. It's very helpful because sometimes people will get angry if they don't know whether they submitted the form or not. So just keep that in mind. If I exit out of these, notice how those go away. I can hide after submit as well too. So just things for you to notate. I can style the form right here, just like I would any other block from Cadence, any other way. And I have my advanced settings. We have enable form analytics. So if we click this button here, if I go back here, this will be enabled. I will be able to see analytics directly from this form. That is sweet. So you have analytics, you have the description of the form, and you have entries, and then whoever made the form. If you don't understand that basic part right there, no matter what form tool you're using, you're not going to understand anything about marketing funnels or sales funnels, because it's not a marketing funnel or a sales funnel if nothing has been collected and nothing is being executed. There's no processes happening. So I'm just trying to keep it simple. I'm no Russell Brunson. This is not ClickFunnels. This is not none of that stuff where you're like, oh, I can do X, Y, and Z, and we're going to build this whole thing out. Not yet. We ain't there yet. I just want to give you all a simple understanding. When it comes to a marketing funnel, we got to collect information so we can start marketing to that person. And this is a great way to do so. That's why I love Cadence Forms, because it helps you avoid having to bloat your WordPress website with a whole bunch of form builders, third-party form builders, even though I do vouch and I do love using third-party form builders. Don't get me wrong, but that's only when I need more functionality that does not come out of Cadence, out of the Cadence Form Advanced block. That's when I really care about that. So that's key right there. All right, so we have name, we have an email. Yes, we can add more fields here. They have a lot of fields here for the form block. We have our standard fields here, text area, telephone, radio, checkbox, select right here. If I wanted to add radio right here, I can add a file. You can upload a file here. If I want to add more, I can add a date right here. So you see, I can continue to add more fields. Except, boom, just a quick little toggle right there. I mean, that's how you create marketing funnels. From the basic standpoint, you create your form, put it on a page, publish it so it's live. Boom. That's the start of your marketing funnel. Now, some of y'all are saying, yeah, but what about the landing page? We're not there yet. Yes, some people have a page first before they do the lead collection or information collection. Some people have the landing page, and on the landing page, they're doing the lead collection or information collection. But you got to understand building out a form and why I would say a majority of a lot of the ways we're collecting information is some type of form. I noticed that a lot of people don't call it forms, when it comes to like the checkout area or the checkout form, or the whatever, but it's all form. It's all forms. Like templates, we call templates different things, but they're all templates. For the most part, most of the stuff when you're collecting information or data, it's a form. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but it's a form. So hopefully you've been informed with this information, but that's key right there too. We have a capacha here, a capacha, however you say, capacha, capacha, a tomato, and then we can add other block elements as well too. So that's something that you all need to understand and know, that when we talk about marketing and sales funnels, it's collection. We're collecting. That is the start of the funnel. Then from there, how are we delivering the message? Which way are we delivering the message to continue the marketing, right? Usually that's through email. That could be through social media, advertising, a whole bunch of other ways. But how do we get the information so we can have a one-on-one personalized experience, a direct relationship with the audience, with our customers, with our users, with our prospects? Well, the best way to do that is to get their email and even get their phone number for text messaging. But even still, you're collecting something so that way you can message them later. That's key. You got to think about that. So let's first start with that as far as creating forms when it comes to our marketing aspect of things. How do we start marketing? Well, you got to collect information. Now, from here, let me go back. When we talk about products, let's talk about products for a second here, because right now I have SureCart on. Let me go back to plugins and let you know that I'm using SureCart right now, but in a minute, I'll add WooCommerce and cart flows. With SureCart, once you go through the whole onboarding process and all that stuff, it's going to create some pages for you. It's going to create a store checkout, a customer dashboard, and a shop page, right? It creates those things. The store checkout is a form. That's something for you all to understand. When people are checking out, they're giving you information, right? Unless you are just giving them free stuff. But when people are checking out, they give you information. Guess what? This is a form. Like, once I started understanding more about how like 80% of the way we're collecting information is through forms, it's all a form of a form, it really started to make more sense in my mind. So checkout, form. With SureCart, you're also able to create more forms. Like with Cadence, how you're able to create multiple forms, I can create as many forms as I want to have different experiences, different checkout experiences. I don't have to have my global checkout. This is the global checkout experience. But if I wanted to have different checkout forms for different products, different campaigns, I would create my forms right here. Very, very simple. That's where you would do with SureCart. Now, when it comes to products, we have some dummy products here. And what I like about SureCart is it makes it very simple for you to create a quick, fast, you in a hurry, you just need to whip something up real quick because you got to go out and pick up them kids, or you got to go to the gym, or you got to go to work, or you just got to go somewhere. You ain't got time, right? I like that SureCart when it comes to the way that it's set up, that you can easily, quickly create an instant checkout page. So if I go here and I click on, let's see, published right there, instant checkout, boom, I can put it in test mode right here. And then I'm gonna click save products right here, just because, we're gonna do that. View, and look, instantly, boom, sales funnel. like that fast. Now, I know some of you are like, no, that's not the sales funnels that I see. I see them having this thing and then that step and then this page and that thing. Again, if you don't understand the basic concepts of this, all that other stuff don't matter. I see so many people that think that because they're not a baby anymore, that they can run before they crawl. That's not how this works, folks. You gotta crawl, then walk, then run. I don't care how old you are. If you don't understand this stuff, you got to start with the basics. And in this situation, this is becoming a sales funnel because I can purchase something right here really, really fast. And then after this step, typically you'll see a thank you pop up, or you can redirect somebody to another page. Boom. And then they should get an email as well too. We'll get into that in a second. But we're already in the sales funnel phase and we didn't do too much at all, did we? I didn't do too much. So that's something for you to think about when it comes to your marketing and sales funnel. Before it was just for marketing. We were just collecting an email, collecting information. Now we're collecting credentials. We're collecting credit card information or debit card information. Like we're getting ready. We want the person to spend some monies, right? We want to spend some monies. So we did the marketing part. Now we're doing the sales part. That's key right there. So again, that's only if y'all want to whip up something really, really fast. SureCart has that option to create an instant checkout form. I love that about SureCart. That's key right there. Otherwise, we would just see the regular product page. So if, for instance, if we see product page is published right here, here's the URL slug. If I click this button here, it's going to open up the product page. See? Now, this is when you don't want that quick checkout way, you know, for a user to be able to easily, quickly check out. So now I got to go through the old school sales funnel way. But with SureCart, it's even smooth. It's smoother than normal. With WooCommerce, you got to add some things onto it to make it really, really smooth. With SureCart, it's still smooth. So I can, look, I have a buy now button. Same thing with the instant checkout experience. Boom, I can buy right now. I'm back here getting ready to purchase the product. Sales funnel, that's key. If I want to add the cart, I can do so right here. So now we're going the old school way where we have a cart, we have review our cart right here. Okay, we can see all the products on our cart. Say I have multiple products. And then once again, I go to checkout. Boom, sales funnel. So that's key for you all to know that, yes, I'm saying the word sales funnel. Some people are going to say, that's not a sales funnel. That's not what, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I want people to understand the concept because I've seen too many people get confused. And I'm like, we got to simplify this stuff. Before we get too deep into the weeds, we got to simplify it, okay? So that's one thing that I want you all to see is that I could do the instant checkout. I can create a product and go that way. I can have a product page and go that way, or I cannot have a product page. A person can buy now, they can add the cart. You know, it is what it is, but we don't have to overcomplicate things. So just keep that in mind when it comes to your marketing and sales funnels activities. Now, when we want to get deeper, a little deeper, and I won't get too deep, but when we want to get a little deeper with sales funnels, then we start talking about upsells and order bumps, as you can see right here, right? That's when we want to get deeper with it. What do I mean by that? For an order bump is typically something where, let's see, we have the checkout page, we have the checkout. Let's go to the checkout right quick. Let's say, oh, no, we're here. All right, so we're already here at the checkout. An order bump would be something where if we had another product that we wanted to sell on top of this, so when they're in the checkout, just like you see this little toggle right here, it should be as simple as them clicking a toggle. They're already here and they just got to click, check the box or uncheck the box, however they're going to do it, however you want to do it. That's order bump. That's simple. Don't overcomplicate it. If you are literally shopping at the grocery store, you have your cart, you're getting ready to check out. Right there by the checkout teller, or what do they call them? The register. So you're right there by the register. You see that candy bar, or your kid sees that candy bar, your nephew or your niece sees that candy bar, your wife, your husband sees that candy bar, and they get that candy bar and put it in the cart. That's considered a bump order or order bump. I said a bump order. We don't want to go there. So that's considered an order bump because it's right there. You're getting ready to check out. And you want to put that last little bit of thing in your cart, right? We're not going back to the aisles. We're not going back to the aisles to get something else. We're already checking out. There's people behind us. If we get out the line, we lose our space. If we get out the line, we lose our behind. If we get out the line, we go back behind. However you want to say it, that's an order bump. That candy bar going into your cart when you're at the register. That's what an order bump would be. So just keep that in mind. Some people are so confused on what order bumps are. And I'm like, that's it. An order bump is super, super simple. Create that, boom, boom. Order bump price, boom, boom. And that's it. We have there. And so we can just add this order bump. Where is this order bump going to show? We can add the condition, put it on a form. A person's getting ready to check out. They click that little toggle button. Boom, you just added more money to your pockets, right? You increase your average order value. That's a tactic. That's a strategy for you to make more money. Order bump. The difference between that and an upsell, because people get these confused. Remember, I said the order bump should be as easy as a switch or a toggle or a check box. Check it, switch it, flip it, whatever, like pancakes, do what you got to do. That's an order bump. Upsells, on the other hand, are when after the transaction happens, right? After you put in your credit card information and you press purchase, and then on the next screen, there's something selling you something. It's like an order bump. Both are selling you something else. Both are considered upsells. And I know it could be confusing because you're like, well, an order bump is an upsell, but is an upsell an order bump? See what I did there? You gotta think about that, right? They're both upsells. Except an order bump is literally your bump. And there's strategy on this. Here's the thing. If you have a $100 product, do not make your order bump something worth $1,000. Like, let's just start there. If you have a $100 product, don't make something $500. Don't make it $110. It needs to be significantly low. You need something that is just like an add-on. You're just adding on something. It should be a lower in price. Now, is this something that everybody follows as a rule? No. I'm giving you a general rule of thumb. Just giving you what most people do, not what everybody does. For upsell, what an upsell is, now we're saying once this particular product is purchased, so if we choose a product and say, okay, well, we want to sell this product right now, I'm going to do this one right here. So boom, $99. What is this? We got a product here. It looks like a bag. Okay, I ain't going to do all this extra stuff right here except for, say, test. I'm just going to take test, create offer, boom. So now we have the post-purchase offer. We can say if they accept this, right, after they purchase this product and it goes to the next screen, if they accept this offer, maybe we want to offer them something else, another product. If they don't accept this offer, let's offer them a lower tier product. That's why they call it a down sell. So we have an upsell and then we have a down sell. This is an upsell. This first one is an upsell. The second one is a second upsell. Be careful with this, y'all. And notice how SureCart's not giving you the ability to do a third upsell. Why? Because it's a general rule of thumb. The more upsells you do, the more you're going to piss people off. And the more they're going to abandon, and we'll get to that part in a minute, abandon the checkout experience. They're going to be gone because now they're angry. Like, what are you doing? You're doing too much. So you only want to do one upsell if you're starting off and then do one down sell. This upsell can be a higher tier product, right? It can be a higher tier product. Down sell should never be. So if you have an upsell that's $500, don't make your down sell $2,000. That's foolish. And I can't tell you how many people, they don't know that. They don't think that way. So I'm just giving you the mindset of, you got to think that way. Don't do that. Don't make this more than this or more than this. But you can always do what you want to do, how you want to do it. I'm just giving y'all some game right now. And then we can choose the priority, but we ain't gonna get into that. We saving that for everything else. I just want to give you all the gist of order bumps and upsells, and to know that upsells, all of this is upsell. This everything besides buying the main product. So if they have, even in their checkout experience, so say that they have like 10 things in their cart. See how I have one thing in my cart right now? Now I have 2 of the same thing. Even if I had 10 things in my cart, this is technically not upsell. Now, some of y'all may see, oh, well, a person added this in their cart, then they added that in their cart, they added that in their cart. You know, I upsold them. No, you didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not an upsell, technically. Upsell would be once they get into the checkout, interface, right? Once they get to the checkout interface and they're getting ready to check out, and now you're selling them. Now we're in the upsell process here, whether it's an order bump or after they purchase, and then they see another screen. that says, hey, do you want to get this thing too? Upsell, right? Oh, no, you don't want to get that? You said no? Downsell. You don't want anything at all? Cool, we just gonna sell you this $24 thing and that's it. Now, here's the magic when it comes to the functionality of why people who don't understand that the upsell process, it's magic and it's functionality heavy more than anything, because the functionality behind this is once a person clicks this button to purchase, their credit card information is already there. That means they're already hot. Their wallet is already out. Their credit card is already in the hand of the thing. Then you're asking them, hey, do you want to buy this thing too? You already got their credit card information. They don't need to give it to you again. For a user or a person purchasing, that is convenient for them. I don't want to have to give you my numbers again. That's going to make me angry. It's going to make me abandon or leave the process. Something that you really want to think about when it comes to upsells and understand the magic and functionality. A tool is not a good tool if a person has to put their credit card information again after they already put their credit card information in. It's not a good tool for upsell. I know that could be, against how some people think. I'm just letting y'all know it is what it is. That's not a good tool for upsell. The upsell tool you're using, the functionality, the magic behind it should be after they put their credit card information in, they should not have to do it again, but you should be able to continue to sell them products. That's the juice. You got the juice now. Let's see what you do with it. So that's key right there. I just showed you shortcut on how it does its forms, its custom forms, as well as how it does its upsells and its order bumps, right? Those are key things. Obviously, in order to do an upsell or order bump, you have to create a product. You got to have a product to sell. How are you going to upsell something when you don't have the main sale ready, I guess? I don't know. But that's what the product is right there, okay? So that's key right there. Now, for WooCommerce, let's go to WooCommerce. I'm going to install plugins. I'm going to deactivate shortcut. Now, although I'm deactivating shortcut, you still see the shop page here, the dashboard, checkout. I deactivated the plugin, but the pages that it made are still there. So that's something you need to notate. The reason why this is important, because when I activate WooCommerce, it's going to automatically make its own shop pages too. That's something that you have to recognize and understand, because I know that can confuse some people, especially those who are switching over from shortcut to WooCommerce or from WooCommerce to shortcut. You got to clean up house. You got to understand the difference between the two, or else you're going to mess up your whole house. And next thing you know, the water's going to be leaking. You're going to need a plumber. We can go there, but we ain't going to go there yet. So let me go back to plugins, install plugins, and I'm going to activate WooCommerce. Now, once I activate it, it's going to take me through the onboarding experience, and we're going to skip past this because we don't need all this. We don't need all that. Come on. Skip got it set up. Who cares? I don't care what region. Boom, go to my store. Turning on the lights. I don't know what lights are being turned on. All right, let's go back to pages. See, didn't I tell you? We was gonna get some new pages. How do we know which ones are WooCommerce and which ones are shortcut? Can you guess? I'll let you guess. Time's up. All right, we see this little indication right here because WooCommerce is activated. We see cart page, checkout page, my account page, and shop page right there. Now here's the thing. This is what's interesting. Only because I deactivated shortcut first, WooCommerce just used the shop page. It would create a separate shop page, another one, if I didn't deactivate. They can't have both, so I'm just letting y'all know that. That's something that could be really confusing for people. Same thing with my account. We have dashboard and we have my account. These are the same thing, but they're called two different things. Shortcut, WooCommerce. See? WooCommerce. But because we don't have shortcut on here, we don't see nothing. So my account, WooCommerce, shortcut calls it customer dashboard. So that's just something for you to know. Then checkout. See, we have two checkouts. So isn't it interesting that it didn't make a new shop page, but it definitely made a new checkout page because we have an old checkout right here. Checkout, cart, empty, boom. So it's another thing for you to notate. And then WooCommerce makes a cart page. Shortcut doesn't do that. Shortcut has a cart widget, a slide out widget. Now we have a cart page right here. People don't understand that this itself is a funnel. It's an old school way of a funnel. It's a little cumbersome, but this is a funnel. This is a funnel. So let me skip out of this. First, we'd have a product, then we have a cart, then we have the account, or we would have the checkout, excuse me. So we have our cart page, checkout. Now, if you don't have any products, you won't see the checkout page. So let's go to WooCommerce. Let's create a product here. Let's just create something. Let's just create a product here. Publish this. Now we have our product. So we have our product. This is the first step you want to do here. I didn't put a price on it, so there's nothing there. Let's put $10. Let's call it a virtual product, a simple product. Now let's update this. I'm going to refresh it. Now we can add it to cart. So here's the start of the sales funnel experience. Add to cart. This is my cart page. I'm going to refresh this. Now we got something in our cart. So we have products. These are some weird numbers. What the heck? We have cart here, and then proceed to checkout. Here's the checkout form here, just like SureCart. Once they check out, they'll end up in my account. Look at this 4-step process. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get your booty on the floor. Gotta get up or get down. Gotta get up or get down. All right, so this is a 4-step checkout experience right here that you all are seeing. You only want this if absolutely necessary. Like if people are just browsing, right? The whole purpose of a sales funnel is for you to direct them to where you want them to go. That's the biggest difference between a sales funnel and a shop. When people are in shop mode, you don't bother them. You know, you ever been shopping before? Like the moment that you walk into that fashion store or that clothing store, whatever the case is, and people start asking you questions like, hello, ma'am, hello, sir, can I help you today? And you're like, man, I'm just browsing. That's shop form right there. That's shop. Sales funnel is as if you walk into that store with a rope. You can only walk this way, and you can only walk that way. You can only see. That's more of a sales funnel because you're only going in one direction. That's when you're thinking about sales funnels. With WooCommerce out the box, you can't do that, you know, not easily. That's why you have to pair it with some type of plugin, a third-party plugin or tool in order to get that sales funnel-esque experience and to add upsells and order bumps or bump orders or whatever the case you want to call it. You got to have something else. So it's key here that, for instance, if I go to plugins, install plugins, let's add cart flows, for example. So I'm going to activate cart flows. Now, here's the thing. If y'all didn't know, because some of y'all probably know watching this, and I get it. It's all good. Do I really want to go through this whole thing? No, I don't. Yeah, we don't want to go through all that. Cart flows and SureCart is owned by the same team. Cart flows is a solution directly for WooCommerce users, and SureCart is a standalone, it's on its own, it doesn't need any other extensions type of solution. Plus, it's a headless plugin versus WooCommerce and cart flows. This is on your WordPress website. It's self-hosted. If you delete your website, you delete your data. That's the best way to say it. With SureCart, if you delete your WordPress website, you can always still go to the SureCart website and you can still see your products. You can still see your data because it's hosted off of WordPress. It's like they're just showing it on WordPress. They're only showing you the stuff on WordPress, but it's not hosted on WordPress. That's one of the biggest differences between the two. However, in this situation, cart flows and WooCommerce work together. So for example, we see create new funnel. It used to say create new flow, so I'm glad that they stopped using flow from Progressive's name and use funnel because it makes it way more clear of what to do. Now, if I want to create new funnel, I will click this here. I can start from scratch. We'll do test fun because ain't funnels fun. You can't spell funnel without fun. And then we have redirect. See, we have steps. I've also been using the word steps on purpose. I'm trying to throw in some lingo to help kind of get you familiarized, right? Plant some seeds. I'm not getting too deep yet, but I'm still wanting to plant some seeds with y'all. So we have a landing page, a checkout, and a thank you. Now you notice that it says upgrade to pro in order to do these funnel steps. So we ain't gonna do all that right now, all right? We're going to just do add step, and we're going to say a landing, create step. A landing page is typically the page that people land on first before they get into the checkout experience. Sometimes they put the form on the landing page, sometimes they don't. With cart flows, in order for you to see this information, you have to upgrade to pro. Okay, and in order to add more steps, you also got to upgrade to pro. We're using the free version right now. All right, so with cart flows, right now, we have a landing page, a checkout, and a thank you right here, okay? If we wanted to edit this, we can click open settings, and now we have our settings. We can change the slug, we have a step. So this is the landing page. We're only talking about the landing page. That's not necessarily the meat and potatoes, so I'm not worried about that right now. But we can also edit this step, like edit the page if we want to by clicking this. And what this will do is take us here to a new post. We don't want to do that either right now. What we want to do is open up the settings here and we want to add a product. So for instance, it says find products. We have none. You can add or you can create. We're going to create, add new product, new test 1. How much is it worth? 20. Virtual, publish. So notice how it opened up a new interface. Now, this is new because Cartflows didn't always do this. Cartflows has not always done this. I'll be honest with y'all. I'm a Cartflows fan, but then when SureCart came out, I kind of moved over. Now, I ain't gonna lie, it's not because I don't like Cartflows or WooCommerce, but I was like, ooh, I like the idea of having things consolidated. That's just me. But I'm teaching y'all got options, okay? And if I need to go back to WooCommerce and Cartflows for whatever reason, which I most likely probably won't happen, but for whatever reason, I will. For now, this is how you do this. So we have our product here. Let's see, test. See right here, boom. So I could have, chosen my other product. We have a product here. We have order bumps, but that's pro. Checkout form. Now this is where Cartflows gives WooCommerce more flexibility and more leeway because I can enable the coupon field. I can collapse coupon field. I can enable ship address if I don't want that on. Enable Google address autocomplete. You got to add your API key to do that. I can enable the form editor here. Again, with WooCommerce, you can't do that. Some of y'all may want to use Cartflows just because it allows you to take off that extra information that WooCommerce makes you ask for in the checkout for a virtual product. And you're like, why am I asking them for all this information and it's a virtual product? It's because you don't have a third-party plugin hooked on your website. So Cartflows gives you the ability to be able to do that. We have the billing fields and we have the shipping fields. I love this. Let's see, can we reorder this on the free version? Yes, we can. Look at that. Yes, we can. Beautiful. Again, this wasn't always like this. Some of this used to be in the pro version and they made some updates once they started getting more pro features. I love that. Form heading, boom, we have that right here. I'm not gonna go too deep in it. I'm just letting y'all know. Place order button. What is the order button? Like when they press the order, what do you say on it? Boom, right there. I'm gonna say yes, I'm gonna save that. Dynamic offers, the pro version, and then settings if we wanna do settings here. So this is a great way for you to add a sales funnel experience using WooCommerce. You make the product in WooCommerce, or you can make it in Cartflows, but you have to have WooCommerce activated. That's the key thing. You can't use Cartflows without WooCommerce activated. And then from there, able to create a funnel. If I wanted to edit this right here, I can do so right here as well too. So on the thank you page, what's important on the thank you page? Things like your order review, your order details, the billing. On the thank you page, people want to see, the receipt. What did they get? This is what that's for. This is a funnel. At the most simplistic way to think about it, a funnel is a landing page, a checkout page, a thank you page. Everything else is extra. That's when you get into the weeds of things. So I just showed you how we did that with SureCart. This is how you do that with WooCommerce. Now here's the thing. Unless you use the pro version of Cartflows, right, WooCommerce, then you'll be able to add upsell. So if I try to do so right now, let's say upsell right quick, create step from scratch, see how it says you got to get a higher plan with Cartflows. So you really can't do so. If I want to import this right here, again, higher plan. So that's the thing. Right now, I'm not able to add upsells on the pro version. If I were you, while SureCart has their upsell feature in beta, because there are pro features with SureCart only as well, I was using the free version of SureCart and didn't let me add an upsell to it, but it said it in beta. So if you're watching this video and you just get into the e-commerce world and you want to do some quick upsells without having to pay for the pro version of Cartflows or whatever the case is, you can get into the SureCart while it's in beta, get your money up, and then pay for the pro version, right? Because upsells and order bumps, I'm telling y'all, that changes the whole game of increasing your average order value, increasing more money in your pockets by adding more things people could buy in the checkout experience. Not in the shop mode, but the checkout experience. Here we have store checkout right here. So we have a global store checkout. If you all wanted to use, instead of WooCommerce's global checkout, you can have a global checkout through Cartflows. Again, it's still using WooCommerce, but it's through Cartflows. And you have more customization up here. You can do some really cool things when you add on other plugins or other features from plugins in tandem with whatever experience you want to create when it comes to your e-commerce experience. So if you want to go through the SureCart way or you want to go through the WooCommerce and Cartflows way, it does not matter. When it comes to your marketing and sales funnels initiatives, I mentioned adding on Cadence Block Pro, Cadence Conversions, and then Cadence Pro theme. Now, some of y'all, this may not be relevant. And for some of y'all, you could use other tools that you're already using to create some of these same features. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but I just wanna show you all, this is how you get a little freaky with it. This is how you freak it up a little bit, okay? So if you know anything about cooking, sometimes you gotta add a little bit more spice to that dish. You gotta freak it up a little bit. And this is how you do that. Now, when it comes to creating your sales funnels, Cartflows helps you do that with WooCommerce, and SureCart has that natively out the box. Regardless of which way you're gonna go, just to add a little bit more context to it, when we create sales funnels and we want to create longer sales funnels, more customized sales funnels, more personalized sales funnels, sometimes we want to add on features such as what Cadence calls hooked elements. For example, if I go to appearance, I go to Cadence right here, and I turn on this hooked elements right here. There are other times where you may want to have a conditional header, but for right now, I have hooked elements on. And if I want to customize this, I can add sections that I wouldn't be able to add otherwise to WordPress. I can get really, really custom and say, hey, I want to create a template or add a content section within my product area or within a checkout or within a certain stage of the process of the funnel. I don't have to just rely on the tools that I mentioned before. I can add more things that'll give me other ways to customize the experience. And I'm going to go deeper on this later, but I just want to let you know this is how you do that. After that, so for example, I'm gonna add a countdown timer. Just give you guys examples. So we have countdown timer, and then we have, here's the overall element right here. So here's the block, this is the block right here, and then here is the element right here. So for instance, if I hit this button right here, this element settings right here, I can then say where I want this to be placed. And so what I love about this, and trust me, other tools do this as well too. Grade Suite is one that does this. I think maybe Astra Pro, but we can see WooCommerce products right here. See how I can add more content information between them? And so that way I can create these templates and then have these templates show on certain sections. Before add a cart, after add a cart. Like I said, this is how you get freaky deaky with it. And this is how you do more things than you're able to do out the box, even with those plugins. But this is a pro add-on extension to Cadence's theme. Just know that their hooked elements is a pro add-on extension, but you can do this. WooCommerce archive pages or archive, however you want to say it. WooCommerce account page, WooCommerce cart page. You see all this extra functionality that I'm getting to be able to customize WooCommerce. It's not because of cart flows. It's because I'm using Cadence's hooked elements feature right here. So that's key. That's something that you want to think about. I'm going to leave this because hopefully you get that example. And then from there, let's go back. So again, that came off of Cadence Pro. And then from there, we also have Cadence Conversions. This is their pop-up builder. Again, whatever tool you're using to create pop-ups or slide-ins, you can use your tool, but I like to use Cadence's Conversions. If I go to Cadence Conversions, I go to all conversion items, add conversion. This is where you combine the form, the concept of having a form with something else that comes in based on a trigger, based on a condition, based on something happening, an action taking, this happens next. So we have a pop-up right here, and I'm gonna start blank, and it says add blocks. So normally what you wanna do is you would add a form block. I would add the advanced form block or the form block. The subscribe with name form, how about we just use the one we already created? Select. Now we have a pop-up with a form on it. And then from there, let me see. We click this button right here. We open up our document overview. We get in our list. We click this. And now we got all these settings. We have our launch settings. How does the pop-up pop up? And it doesn't have to be a pop-up. It could be a slide-in. It could be a banner. But how is it triggered? Then we have conversion setting. Is there a conversion goal? When somebody submits it, when they click a button, is it a pop-up, slide-in, banner? Right now, it's a pop-up. Then we have the repeat control. You know, how often do we want it to repeat itself? Every 30 days, 45 days. If they reach the goal, when do we expire? I mean, these are a lot of settings that we get with this pop-up builder right here. What pages do we want to actually show this pop-up on? I could change this, take this form out, delete it, and create a whole new form here. So maybe I want to create a new form. Create new form. Maybe I want to do this form right here, make it dark, create. Now we have a form on our pop-up. This is also a part of the marketing funnel experience. So when you combine this with things like hooked elements or things like sections that you can place based on conditions, when you combine the way you're able to create easy ways for people to check out, or you can create a multi-step checkout. This is how you create marketing and sales funnels with WordPress. And I just wanted to show you all this real quick because a lot of people, they don't think that WordPress can do this. They think that they have to have another sales funnel tool on top of WordPress or outside of WordPress in order to create funnels with WordPress. And I just showed you, you don't need anything else. I love the fact that I can turn WordPress, for instance, and create a whole ClickFunnels-like experience, even better with WordPress with these tools that I'm using. So I just wanted to show you that real quick before we got off here. So hopefully that makes sense as far as marketing and sales funnels are concerned when it comes to an overview. Again, we are going to get deeper in the official Start Fresh on WordPress course. But I just wanted to let y'all know these are the topics that we're going to be talking about in more depth once that course releases. All right? My name is Maestro Stevens, or Iconic Templates, and I'm out. Peace. In this lesson, lesson 6, we're going to talk about video marketing and automating WordPress. So as you can see here, I already have one plugin installed, and that's Cadence Blocks. I also have Cadence Theme installed right here. Let's go to Themes, as you can see here, but you can use any theme or block plugin you want to. I just want to show you the basics of what I'm referring to in terms of video marketing and automating WordPress. So for now, I'm going to use Cadence Theme, and I'm going to use Cadence Blocks. Now let's go back to add new plugins. And this is where you are going to want to follow my directions here as far as the video marketing part is concerned, because I don't think that there's any other plugin that has video marketing capabilities the way that this plugin has. It's called Presto Player. So you want to install this. It's a free plugin, and there is a pro version, but we're just going to use the free plugin, and you want to activate. So now we have Cadence Blocks and we have Presto Player installed. We also want to install one more plugin, and we're going to install a plugin called Sure Triggers, and this is for automation. So install this real quick. And you notice how these logos look the same, and that's because SureCart and Sure Triggers are made by the same company. So I just want you to keep that in mind. I'm going to activate, and we're going to go back to the dashboard. So now we have Sure Triggers here, and we have Presto Player right here. When I think of video marketing, I don't think of just marketing with a video, meaning just making a video and sending it to your social media following, or sending a video to your subscriber audience, or just having a video on your website. That's not what I'm referring to as video marketing, okay? So I want to let you know that's not it. The reason why is because with Presto Player, you can do so many things with the video player itself to create this experience that truly is what I consider video marketing, a component of video marketing. So as you can see, I'm in the media hub right now of Presto Player, and you don't have to go here in order to add a video, but I'm going to start here first. I'm going to add a new video, and we have some options of how we can add the video. We can add the video natively from our media library. We can add a YouTube video. We can add a Vimeo video. We can even add audio. So this is also a video and audio player, AKA it makes it a media player. I still look at it as being video, but it does audio as well too. And if you have the pro version, you can use bunny.net. Let me show you real quick what I'm referring to. So if you have a YouTube account or a YouTube channel, you can take your YouTube videos and add them to your WordPress website through this video player. You can do the same thing with Vimeo. If you have a Vimeo account, you can take your Vimeo videos and add them to your WordPress website via this video player. And my favorite one, Bunny, because it is so cheap and so fast, and it gives you the best experience, in my opinion, you can do the same thing. So you can use Bunny, and for Bunny, it would be Stream. It used to be storage, but if I'm not mistaken, now it's underneath the stream, meaning when Presto Player does its magic, it's going to connect to one of these. And I believe it connects to the stream feature of Bunny for the video part. So you can do bunny.net, you can do Vimeo, or you can do YouTube. Let's go back here. All right, so that's the key thing that I want you to see. Now, for instance, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do YouTube for the sake of this video. Let's go to YouTube, and let's go back to YouTube. And let's type in, I'm just going to say stock video. Here we go. All right. So let's try a business meeting, share. I copy this. So we are copying this business meeting from YouTube. We're going to go back here and we're going to place the video. Add video. So now we have our video using this video player. Now, why would I do this versus going to the traditional route. For example, if I go to Pages, add New, and I can go to Video, and I can add YouTube. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to embed this. We have a YouTube embed. Look at the settings right here. What do you see? Because I don't see much. However, if I go here, presto, choose with video, same thing, YouTube, add this in here, add video. On the right side, what do you see? Way more settings. So we're already getting into the video marketing territory just based on the fact that when you have a YouTube video, it could be Vimeo as well, and you add it to your website, most people I see just do this. If I were you, I wouldn't do this because one, when people pause the video, YouTube does this thing where it shows related videos, and that's what gets people off of your site real fast. Plus, all this extra stuff that YouTube is showing, and you don't have any settings, you can't do nothing. This is all you got. You got to do your other marketing functionalities and capabilities outside of the video. Whereas Presto Player, you can do some marketing directly on the video or directly with this video player block. All right, so that's key right there. You got to look at that. We're not going to touch on the chapters and the overlays because those are pro features, but just know that they exist, and that's important too. If I were you, I would invest, if you have the budget and ability, once you get used to this plugin, to add overlays and chapters, because those things are sweet and they make your video look so polished and so professional. You're creating an experience on top of the video, on top of the content. A lot of people don't understand. They don't get to the content of the videos before they see a video thumbnail and a title. Something about the video has to get you intrigued enough, interested enough to even click the video to watch the content. But the content don't mean nothing. You just wasted all that great performance that you've done, all that great video editing and scripting you've done. It's all wasted if you don't have anybody or you can't get people to click the video. Or if they do click the video, but then you make it harder for them to take action. You don't have anything else for them to do to take action. Presto Player helps you solve that problem, as you can see here. So we have video settings right here, and we have autoplay. Super sweet. We have autoplay right there. So the video will automatically play. Now you don't want the video to autoplay unmuted. That's another reason why you want this pro version, because some browsers won't even let you do that. You get penalized for autoplaying videos that have sound to them, because you got to imagine people listening or people going to your website while they're en route, while they're in traffic, while they're in commute, while they're in other places, while they're in places that are quiet. And the last thing you want to do is open up a web page and the video is on autoplay and the sound blasts. That right there will upset, frustrate, piss people off so fast. So you got to be careful with that. So that's one thing right there, having the autoplay feature. Then you can add a poster image. Remember I told you about the thumbnail. You can add a thumbnail right here. And if you can't find one, you can always go to Pexels, for example. I'm going to download the image. Boom, boom. I'm going to select the image. Boom, boom. Now I have a thumbnail. Look at that. Is there anywhere where I can put a thumbnail on this video? No. So I have to use the thumbnail that came from the YouTube video or the Vimeo video, where here I can change the thumbnail out as I please. I don't have to go to YouTube to change that thumbnail. I can create a whole different experience on my WordPress website via the thumbnail and not have to touch anything on the YouTube video. Because sometimes you want to make the video unlisted, right? Not public. It's up to you. But that's a key thing right there too. So from there, I'm going to click this. We have timestamp shortcodes. Look at that. I can copy that. We have global player branding. So if we wanted to have a color, look at how the color changes on there. Just that right there. It's just little things that people take for granted or don't understand. You can't do that with the regular YouTube block. That's why I don't use this block, because Presto Player is free. It's allowing you to add YouTube, but you get to do more things with this block, with these settings right here. And if you're feeling real froggy and you really want to leap, we have some presets, aka some templates. Remember that word template again, y'all. We have some templates. Right now I'm on the default. Say I wanted to make it minimal. Look at that. There's nothing down here. That's minimal. YouTube optimize. Look at that. This is still a YouTube video, but we don't see the YouTube stuff around it. That is sweet. If you are using the pro version, you could make your own presets, aka templates. But for right now, you have default. Let's get rid of this because, all right, matter of fact, let's just reverse these. Let's reverse these. Boom. All right. So we have default. We have course. If you're doing courses on your website, we have simplified. We only have a play button here, and to make full screen, minimal, nothing is there. YouTube optimize. We got forward. We got forward, backward, play button. We have the player head. I forgot what they call this thing. We have the volume. We have this, so I'm sure you can do speed on this. So these are cool things that you can't do right here with this YouTube video. I'm going to save this so we can see what it looks like on the front end. Boom, boom. And then we're going to go view site right here. Nope, that's not what we want to do. So publish. All right, let's view page. Let's view the page right here. All right, so now that we're viewing the page, you see they're both YouTube videos, but which one obviously looks like it's YouTube versus the other one? I'll let you think about that for 1 second. All right, time's up. It's this one right here. When I press this, press play, and then I stop it, look what happens. More videos. This is distractions. We don't want this, y'all. This is not the experience you want. Let's press play here. Now, we have this as well too, but if you're using the pro version, you can get rid of this. Like there's a feature in the pro version that allows you, I'm not sure if it's still experimental, but it allows you to get rid of this other stuff right here. So even though, yeah, it's still a YouTube video, it's got the watch, share, info, it's got the title here, you know, it's got these things here. If you're using the pro version, you can get rid of all this stuff, which is really, really sweet, right? So, and that's something too that I'm hoping that they do update or change, because when you're looking at it from this end and it says YouTube optimize, so let's go back here. Let's go back to the block, edit original here. And then it says YouTube optimize. That's something that I would want to see is that, okay, YouTube optimize, we see that here, but then I want to make sure that we get more functionality and feature. Like, you know, I just want more clarity. I guess that's the best way to say it. I would want more clarity. I'm not complaining at all. Trust me, this video player is awesome, but I would just want more clarity. Again, in order to add more, to create a preset, to do that, you would have to click this button right here. And the official Start Fresh on WordPress course, I'm actually going to have all the pro versions. So I'm going to show you free and the pro, but I just wanted to show you just an example of why I'm advocating for using Presto Player, why I'm advocating for using a block-based plugin. That is a key thing right there for you to know. So we have, again, global player branding right here. I can save my branding right here. Timestamp, short code. Our video presets are free. Autoplay is free. Play in line is free, so we can play in line, which is really, really dope. And then we have this editing synced media. You are currently editing a synced media hub. So, which is really, really dope, is you can create one video that you can add to multiple places, and then kind of like, and I know we're getting into the weeds here just a little bit, but kind of like synced patterns for WordPress. So if I wanted to create a synced pattern, I would do the same thing here. So right now, this is the media hub where we can create the video. So I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna leave this. This is media hub right here. But if we wanted to add a video directly to the page and it'd be a one-off, we can. Or if we wanted to add a video to a page and have it sync. Notice I have two here. It's because I added another video. I added another video to another page. Every time you add a Presto Player block and you add a video to it, it's going to add it to the media hub. And then you can decide whether or not you want to sync the changes that you make. You want to sync the changes that you make or not. You can sync the changes. You don't have to sync the changes. It's up to you. But it says it right here. Editing synced media. Done editing. Edit original. So if I click this, I can't really do nothing. I can edit the original. Now I can edit the video. Right? And again, you don't get that with YouTube. So that's key for you all to realize and recognize. If I go back to Presto Player, go to the settings. Let's go to the settings real quick. And same thing. I have my branding right there. I have my media hub, synced behavior. Now this is interesting. This wasn't always like this. So what I believe they're doing is they've took in the sync patterns of WordPress. So let me go to add a new page. just so you guys understand what I'm talking about here. And I'm going to open this up. I'm going to add a pattern. I'm going to do that. And so now I'm going to open up my list, click this, and now I see create pattern right here. Test. That way it's spelled test. Synced. So see how WordPress's core native feature is reminding you of what this is. Synced. Sync blocks to Media Hub. Don't sync blocks to Media Hub. You can make the choice. Do you want to sync your blocks to the Media Hub? Do you not want to sync your blocks to Media Hub? And this is a free feature. These features right here are pro, but that sync, that's a free feature. We have a free feature right here. You can't add your logo unless you're in the pro version. They have integrations as well. Again, that's pro, but you have settings for YouTube, privacy enhanced mode for specifically for people using YouTube. And then you have this nice performance. There's another reason why I'm saying use Presto Player versus the regular video player. Media and videos and like GIFs, those are the things that bog, like, so media like images and videos and GIFs. Those tend, as far as media elements, those bog down, slow down your website the most. So if you can get better performance out of your video, so that way you can have video, because you want video on your website. I can't stress enough, you want video on your website. I would definitely use a strategy of adding a YouTube video, right, to your website that are public videos. If you want private videos, I would say use Vimeo or Buddy.net. But any videos that are public, add a YouTube video to your website. So that way you're on YouTube. YouTube is a search engine, so people can search for you on YouTube. And since it's on your website, when people go to Google, that will also pop up. You'll get indexed as well in Google or Bing. So you're getting indexed 2 times, even 3 times, because Google has its feature snippet area. So that's something those are key things. Like, so if I click this button here, I update the settings. Now I have dynamically load JavaScript. Now I have more performance enhancement features on my video player that you would not get out the box if you were just using this YouTube video player here, this regular video player here. You wouldn't get that. Let's see if WordPress has another video block. Yeah, so they do. So we have YouTube, they have a Vimeo block. It's the same thing. And then they have this video block right here where you can upload. So it's interesting, you know, enter from URL. If I just add this, it just turns into a YouTube block. So that video block, it's kind of like, that's the core. And then whatever you add into it, it'll turn into that kind of a block. That's the main thing that I can see the difference. Otherwise, I would use Presto Player, y'all. That's what I would do, okay? So, but I'm gonna go back here. Let's talk a little bit about short triggers. So Presto Player is a video player. I call it a video marketing plugin. That's my terminology for it, because that's the closest thing to me that it resembles. And then we have short triggers, which is an automation plugin. There are a lot of automation plugins for WordPress. When I say a lot, I'm kind of lying. So there are a few automation plugins for WordPress because there are a lot more other things. But I would say that short triggers is probably one of the smoothest. I'm not going to say it's the best. That could be subject or debatable depending on your needs and how you like to work. But as far as user interface and smoothness, I definitely would say short triggers is one of the smoothest out there. And it's the best for me and my needs and my team's needs and my clients' needs. However, just know I'm not saying not to use another automation plugin. This is just the one that we're using the most, okay? All right, that's key. So let's get started now. We have to go through the onboarding process. I have to authorize and continue, so that way it can connect the website with short triggers. Short triggers is like SureCart. What I mean by that is it's a headless tool. It's a headless or a software as a service, meaning that this is not, even though it's on your website, it's not being hosted on your website. It's being connected to your website, and we're seeing the interface, but it has its own website outside of this. So I just want to clear that up. When you delete your WordPress website, your short triggers will still exist, right? If you delete your WordPress website, something happens to it, your automations will still exist. That's not how it is with other automation plugins with WordPress. If your WordPress website gets compromised or you delete your website with other automation plugins that are self-hosted, those get deleted too. And what I mean by deleted is they're gone. Kapoof, kapaya, bye-bye. Now you can have a backup, but it doesn't mean something doesn't get deleted. So that's why I want to clarify that. So we have what we see here, dashboard, workflows, and folders. If I wanted to create a workflow, AKA a automation, that's what we're creating, an automation. They call it workflows. It is what it is, you know, terminologies. I'm going to create one from scratch. I see they have AI, I'm not surprised. Let's do test auto. And now we can add our trigger. The whole concept of automation plugin is using the terminology actions and triggers. This thing starts and then this happens next. Now you can have multiple actions, but you typically can only have one trigger. That's usually how it works. So what is the cause and what are the effects? It's like a cause and effect. We have our actions or our triggers and we have our actions, right? Actions and triggers and actions. Hopefully that clarified a little bit for you when it comes to automation in its most simplistic level. We have triggers and actions. So if I click this trigger here, I see we have apps. And I can use one of these apps as a trigger. When this thing happens in this app, what happens next? So for instance, we have Cadence Forms here, and we have when a form is submitted and it's connected to my WordPress website, I'm gonna continue. Now, this is the thing right here. In order for this to work, you actually have to submit the data to the forms. I wish it would allow me to submit dummy data, but it is what it is. We're just gonna go through this right now. So we have our when a form is submitted, what happens next? This is a great way for you to get data off of or into WordPress. It's another great way for you to connect two separate WordPress websites together and push data from one WordPress website to another WordPress website very seamlessly. I'll say that again. You can push data from one WordPress website to another WordPress website very seamlessly, very easily. I love that about this plugin. So now we're gonna add an action. I had the trigger be something happened when somebody submitted a form. Okay, well, what happens next? What do we wanna do next? Do we wanna add it to, okay, boom, let's add it to our Active Campaign. Although Cadence has a native integration with Active Campaign, here's another tip when it comes to automation, because this is not an automation sell on this plugin. I want you to get the concept of automation in general. Cadence has a native compatibility with adding information to Active Campaign or MailChimp right through the form. You don't even need an automation plugin for this. So if you don't need automation from form submissions to your email marketing tool, don't overwhelm yourself adding more complexity to your setup. Don't add another plugin if you don't need that. If you do need that, save yourself some time and headache, add the plugin and set up the automation. So that way things could keep happening fast, happening for you on your behalf while you're doing other things, right? So that's key too. So we have Active Campaign. What do we want to do? We want to remove a tag, add or update a contact, add a tag. I'm giving you a very simplistic way of doing this. Trust me when I say we go in on the official course. We're going to go in, right, with some more workflows and use cases and things like that. But I just want to make this simple for y'all. Select the event. I'm going to add or update a contact. Select connection. I have to create a connection. So with Active Campaign, I would have to have my API keys and URL in order to, and then I can connect. Boom. Once I have that, then I have a workflow, as they call, or automation. And then I would publish that automation. Let's go back here to the apps. So here we have core apps right here, and those are pretty much premium or pro versions. And then we have all these other apps. And like I said, you can go to Sure Triggers and look at everything they have, but they have a lot. Do they have more than Zapier? No. If you know what Zapier is, it's the big boy. It's the, what do they call, 300-pound gorilla of automation and integration. Zapier is, but guess what you don't have to pay? 300 million pounds. I'm just joking, but you have to pay a lot of money to get a lot more extensive functionality out of Zapier. So you have to keep that in mind. You got to pay a lot more money, and that's why Short Triggers was born, because people were tired of paying so much money with Zapier. Plus, Zapier wasn't WordPress focused. You know, you can do things with WordPress. Short Triggers started off as WordPress focused and then started adding other apps because we need other things outside of WordPress as well too. So it's something for you to keep in mind that they have a lot of apps, softwares that you can automate with, but you can use whatever you want to use and do what you want to do. It's your thing. So again, we're here in WordPress, but we are using the interface of Sure Triggers. And then we have folders here, and we can create folders. That way we can organize our workflows. So that way our workflows aren't all just like this. Look, you can even add to a folder right here. Create new folder. I can create new folder right here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you can only add a workflow to one folder because this says 0 workflows. We'll go back to workflow and let's go to Yoga Fire. I was a Street Fighter fan, y'all, back in the day. This is key for how you want to think about automation with WordPress. How do we simplify it? I don't want to add a whole bunch of plugins. One thing I like about Shirt Triggers is, unlike other automation plugins, you have to add the base plugin, the free one, then you got to add the pro version. Again, that's adding more bloat to your website every time you have to add another plugin, even though those plugins are good. Because one of my favorite ones, I won't name it, but it was one of my favorite ones, and I loved it. I love it still. But I hate that I have to add another plugin on top of the core plugin to get what Shirt Triggers gives me with just one plugin. So we have our dashboard here that shows us our tasks, our active workflows, has some other, they call them recipes, which are templates. Here goes that word template again. So they have these recipes here, which are templates. That's all they are, but they're using the fancy term recipes. I've seen it before. Then you have your numbers here. What is your usage, your tasks, your workflows, and that's it. That's Shirt Triggers. This is Shirt Triggers. I like that they changed the color. The UI is much, much better, sleeker. They added this kind of dark bluish panel to it so it don't hurt the eye. I like that. I like that. Hey, Mikey, I think he likes it. If I wanted to add another organization, I could here, but I'm on the free plan, so that's pretty much it. So hopefully this makes some sense as far as using, we have Presto Player right here. We can say video watched, video completed right here. So video watched. So when a person watches a video, what do we want to do? That's a powerful marketing tool. Again, going back to that video marketing, when somebody watches a video, if they're logged in, now this is key, if they're logged in, right? So say you have WordPress users and they're logged into your website and they watch a video. You can then trigger something that happened and send them a message based on them watching the whole video or them completing. So you say when they watch a percentage of the video or they completed the video. Again, very, very powerful right here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Presto Player, we have triggers, video completed, video watched, and we have an action, create media hub, create a new media hub. So basically create a new video or audio. Either way, you're able to do, now I would have to choose a video here. So let's say 4K, continue. I'm going to save this. And then we can, I know, you would never want to do this. I wouldn't say so. So Presto. All right, boom. So then I can say create media hub. And then I can say, what do I want to create? Here's the title, YouTube video URL, video preset, and then select the author. This ain't even the tip of the iceberg. This is just a little piece of ice. You know what I'm saying? This ain't even the whole ice. This is a little piece of ice. It's like you just went in your freezer and you got that one, the ice maker, or you got an ice tray and you only got one piece of ice left before you have to put that water in and wait 5, 10 more hours. I don't know how long it takes to make ice, but this is that one piece of ice. We're not even on the tip of the iceberg yet. But I'm just letting y'all know that not only can you combine Shirt Triggers with Presto Player, but you can combine it with so many other apps that just create automation heaven for those of y'all who want something like that. So hopefully that makes sense when you combine Shirt Triggers and Presto Player, Shirt Triggers. We have video marketing meets automation. We want to combine those two, video marketing and automation, so that way we can create a more robust marketing experience for our users, thus saving us time and potentially leading to more revenue, more conversions, more leads, more whatever it is that you're looking to achieve. You can get more of that when you're using video, because video is one of the best ways for people to get to know, like, and trust you without you having to repeat yourself 15 times, a million times. Why? Because everything I'm talking about right now, I have one-on-one taught people this so many times. So I'm like, I gotta make videos of this stuff. But when you add these things together, it saves a lot of time. I'm just letting y'all know, it really does. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments. If you have any concerns, put them in the comments. Let me hear what you got to say. And we just went over creating video marketing and automations using Presto Player and Shirt Triggers. My name is Maestro Stevens with Iconic Templates, and I'm out. Peace. Welcome to lesson 7. In this lesson, we are going to discuss the concepts or my overall strategy for optimizing your WordPress site for speed. Now, I'm not going to dive too deep into setting everything up because I want to get more feedback from you all when it comes to your approach or what you're using, so that way I can tailor the official course more towards that direction. However, this is my thought process and workflow when I'm optimizing a website for speed. All right, so right now I have a fresh installation of WordPress, and I've already added some plugins just so that way I already have a few activated. However, I still want you all to see what my thought process is when we're optimizing a WordPress website for speed. First things first, let's talk about caching. So caching is a very sensitive topic because it really involves a lot of different nuances and a lot of different technologies. However, I think most importantly, it really depends on your hosting, because if you go to WordPress, and whether you're in the WordPress repo or you go to wordpress.org and go to that repository, if you type in the word cache, you're going to see there are plenty of options for caching on WordPress. The simplest way I'm going to explain caching for now is basically just a way for your website to have a static or a snapshot. I'm going to use that word snapshot instead of static, because I know there's people that are going to be like, no, there's some dynamicness in it too. I get it. So the way I want to simplify it for a person like myself who can be a simpleton, I like to think of it as a snapshot. When a person goes to your website multiple times, after the first time, does it still load fast? That, to me, is one of the best ways to describe caching, because what it's doing is it's kind of taking a snapshot of your website for that person so it loads quickly. When people go to the website for the first time, normally that's going to be slower than them coming back the second time. Now, there are ways that you can, defeat this process by deleting all your cache in your own browser. So have you ever, been on Google or Safari and you want to delete your site cookies, your history, and it also says delete cache? Well, if you delete the cache, well, then when you go to a website, it's kind of like it's going to start all over again. So therefore, it's going to load slow again. But then when you come back to it, if a person or a company or the website has caching enabled, it should load faster for you. That's an experience that you want on your website. Now, like I said, there are so many nuances to caching: server-based caching, browser-based caching, there's CDN caching. There's so much caching. I don't want to get into all that in this. I think that we just need to simplify it for now, and I'm going to give you my concepts. And then for the official course, we going to dive deep. We going to dig in it, okay? Like we dig it for gold. So I just want to let y'all know that right now. All right. So as I just mentioned, for caching, we have light speed cache, W3 total cache, WP optimized cache, WP fastest cache, WP super cache. There's so much caching plugins out there. It's ridiculous, right? Even Redis or Redis cache. I never know how to say that. And then I use SiteGround as hosting. And I also use Kinsta as hosting. SiteGround has its own caching plugin. So if I type in SG Optimizer, hopefully I spelled that right. If I didn't, oh well. So we can see here, Speed Optimizer. This is by SiteGround. It's only going to work for those using the hosting of SiteGround. The same thing with Kinsta, for instance. You're not going to find Kinsta's caching plugin on here, right? So if I type in Kinsta, you're not going to find the Kinsta cache plugin. Nope, you don't see that here. And then another caching plugin that I use. So I use, as I mentioned, I'll use SiteGround's Optimizer when I'm using websites on my SiteGround hosting. And then I'll use Kinsta's caching when I'm using websites on my Kinsta hosting. But here's the best part, and this is what I love about using third-party tools that are compatible with other hosting providers. One of my favorite caching plugins, and I call this almost a set it and forget it. Yes, there's other settings you can do to make it better, but I have not found a caching plugin yet that the moment that you activate it on your website just has this magic boost of speed. Other caching plugins, you have to do more setup to get them to perform the way you want them to perform. But with WP Rocket, it's one of those ones where it's priceless for me, what it does. And also just know it's not free. So yes, it comes with a price, but I believe it's priceless because it does so much without the average person having to do too much. And that's why I like WP Rocket. For me, these other caching plugins, you have to know a little bit about what you're doing. And that could be as easy as you watching a YouTube video. But that's why I said we're going to save those meat and potatoes for later. For now, I just want to give you all the concepts of how I believe from a minimal standpoint, you need to optimize your website for speed. Because this is a big topic that a lot of people either get wrong or don't understand. So first things first, decide what caching plugin you want to use. Just make a decision and make that decision based on your hosting. Look up what hosting you have and what caching plugins are normally compatible with it, or what is the general norm or census when it comes to caching on your particular hosting. That's key. WP Rocket works on a variety of hosting platforms because it's not meant for one hosting. And for us, I remember that we weren't using it for a while because we were using Kinsta's caching, and then WP Rocket had an update and says now we're compatible with Kinsta. So it's like, wow, we can have the best of both worlds. Really fast hosting with a really great caching plugin. So that's key. Decide your caching plugin. I've installed these right here just to show you all an example of what they may look like on the back end, because, you know, some people may be confused. So I'm going to go to my plugins. Here's another tip that you need to know and understand if you haven't heard it before. Do not use two different caching plugins on your website. Again, I repeat, do not use and activate two different caching plugins on your website. That will cause so many issues. It's not a situation where you're like, well, if I double down, if I double stack it, you know, if I get a double stack, triple stack, you know, burger from Wendy's or McDonald's is going to be better. It don't work like that with caching. So don't double stack the caching. Now, I'm going to turn on Lightspeed Cache, for example, here, and then you'll see it right here. And then we have a dashboard, right? So we can see all of our information at a glance here. And then if I go to cache, this is where you'll decide what features and what options you want to use. You do not want or even need to use everything that comes with the caching plugin. You have to be careful. And that's why I say you got to know a little bit about what you're doing when it comes to caching, because you can mess your site up real easily when it comes to caching, or you can mess up the experiences for users. So just know that. You want to know a little bit about what you're doing by watching a YouTube video, okay? The other thing I want you to notice is that not only do we see cache, we're going to get into the next part here, which is optimizing for images. But first, I just want to show you that they have image optimization and they even have CDN, I'm assuming integration. I don't use this caching plugin. I'm not going to lie to you all. I just told you all what I use, but I know everybody doesn't have access. So I want to give you all some other options so that way you have some thought process on what you want to use. Okay, so that's key too. But if you are using a CDN, and I'll get to that in a second, you typically can integrate your CDN with your caching plugin. Those are the best caching plugins when you can do so, okay? Let me get out of here. Let's go back to plugins installed. I'm going to deactivate Lightspeed. Then I'm going to activate W3 Total Cache. Here, we have way more options, or at least a bigger menu here. But as you can see, they also have CDN as well. Let me go to general settings here. Well, I'll first go to the dashboard so you can see what that looks like. So we can see this dashboard. I'll accept this. This dashboard is a little different, but they also have image optimization, lazy load. And see this page cache, database cache, object cache, browser cache. It's a lot of cache in here, like Johnny Cache. But if I were you, I would really look at what do I need? Do I need all these options? And how is it going to work with my hosting? That is key. Now, sometimes you'll see these other options here and you'll need an add-on, like it'll add another plugin, or you'll have to add on or pay for another service. So you got to be careful of that too. I've been caught with that before. So please be careful of that. I'm going to skip this so we can see our total dashboard here. And at a glance, we can see we have a few things. Now, what I like about this, and I'll get to that in a second, just like what I said with the CDN, we have another CDN configuration opportunity here. So this is really good when you're thinking about your caching option. And I'm going to say, start here. After you pick the right hosting and you're like, okay, I still need my website to be fast, you have to think about that cache, right? If you want to think about fast, think about that cache. And I ain't talking about the dollar bill, y'all, but at the same time I am, because it will save you a lot of money. People can't buy what they don't see. So if they go to your website, it's loading slow, guess what? You about to get a no-go. So you have to have some cache in order to get that cache. You feel me? All right, so let's just start there. I'm gonna go back to plugins installed, and I'm going to deactivate W3 Total Cache. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is image optimization. So with image optimization, and as I just showed you, sometimes caching plugins will have an add-on or they'll have a feature within the caching plugin. You could choose how you want to go. I don't like to always use the features within the caching plugin. Sometimes I want multiple points of failure. Now, some people are thinking, well, why would you want multiple points of failure? Because I don't want the one thing that I'm counting on. If that goes down, then all those features inside of it, they go down too. Sometimes it's good not to have consolidation. Sometimes it's good to have consolidation. You have to choose which route you want to go. But two really good image optimization plugins are and short pixel. You always cracks me up when I say that word, because I feel like I'm a second grader in, was it kindergarten or pre-K? I don't know the grade levels, but you know, the little kids will, ew, like you got a booger in your nose. That's what it reminds me of. But all jokes aside, it's a really, really phenomenal caching plugin. But the one that I love the most is Short Pixel, because I've been using it long enough and it hasn't let me down yet. So I'm gonna activate it real quick. And then once you're in Short Pixel, it's gonna ask you to add your email address in there, so that way it can give you some free credits. Short Pixel is a free plugin, a free image optimization plugin, but it does come with some pro plans that'll give you extra features. So you would click this, I have read and agreed, and you would request a key. For instance, I'm just gonna do this, request a key, and then you're gonna see this dashboard or this interface right here. It's pretty self-explanatory. What I like about Short Pixel, and sometimes caching plugins are like this too, because I know somebody's watching this that probably, you know, has a different perspective than I do when it comes to caching or image optimization or optimization in general. However, I see that the image optimization plugins, because there's way less features, which there should be, and 80% of the time they're set up for you already. Sometimes 90%, where you don't need to do anything. You just add it to your website and let it do its due. But there's other times where you do want to set it up a little bit different, or you want to change some settings, okay? So that's key that I want you all to know when it comes to your image optimization. But we have 3 compression types: lossy, glossy, and lossless. Lossy is recommended. Lossy is going to give you the most compression, and lossless is going to give you the least compression, but the most quality. So lossy is going to take away some quality, but it's going to give you the most compression. Glossy is in the middle. So just keep that in mind. If I go to advanced here, we see that we can get WebP or AVIF versions. So these are also getting very, very popular and common amongst browsers to be able to convert your images, like your JPEGs and your PNGs, to a more palatable, I know that's a weird word to say in this instance, but I'm going to use that because I'm in my cooking mindset, to create a more palatable or a smaller file size that, again, it should keep a good amount of the quality, but it reduces the amount of load on your website, you know, and it reduces the file size as well, but you want to retain as much quality as possible. So yes, you definitely want to use the WebP and the AVIF. I don't know what the acronym or what they, not the acronym, but like how they pronounce it, AVIF or AVIF, I don't know. I have no clue. You want to turn these on, okay? These are really, really good to do. And then if there's anything else you need from there, you can optimize, turn on your settings, turn settings off the way that you see fit for your website. Okay, so this is Short Pixel. So let's go back to plugins, and I'm going to deactivate Short Pixel, and let's activate you just to kind of show you real quick. All right, so with you, we have here, I know what I'm doing, leave me alone, which I really don't. I mean, I do, but I don't use EU like that. I like to be honest with this. I'm not one of those educators who wants to say, yeah, I've used this, that, and they really don't. There's so many people that be lying out there, y'all, or they used it one time or tested it and they say they use it. No, I'm giving y'all the truth. I don't use EU, but the reason why I'm recommending it is because I have a lot of colleagues, associates that use EU, and they swear by it, and I trust them. They're trusted colleagues, trusted friends, trusted associates, and EU is really, really good. I just don't need to use 15 different dishwasher detergents in order to wash my dishes. I'm just going to choose one. If that doesn't work, I'll go on to the next one. But I'm not rotating out dishwasher detergent to wash my dishes. It's just a metaphor, but that's how I think. So he was EU. As you can see here, they have WebP conversion as well, and even lazy load. So this is really, really good. Some hosting has lazy load, like caching plugins and hosting will give you lazy load. WordPress out the box has lazy load, but you need to decide which route you want to go. Do you want to go with your WordPress native way, or do you want to go with a external way, a third-party way? Okay, so that's key. But you definitely want to have lazy load at least most of the time on your website. All lazy load is when somebody's on your website, the section or the image does not load until they get close to it. Hence lazy. We ain't say lazy boy. You ain't sitting in your chair right now. Well, maybe you are watching this. It's not that kind of a lazy, but it's lazy load. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Lazy load. Let me go back to my plugins here, install plugins, and let's deactivate. Now here's a bonus that I want to share with you all, which is okay to use in tandem with your caching, but you have to, and I repeat, you have to turn off certain settings in your caching plugin or caching tool that you're using. You have to turn off certain settings that you're using in order to not, in order to not cause conflict or friction. Because if you have settings on your caching, also with a performance tool or performance optimization tool. Now, some of you are probably thinking, well, Maestro, isn't caching a performance optimization tool? Technically, yes, it is. I completely agree with you. However, there are other tools that aren't caching tools, but they are like caching tools, and they have features of caching tools, but they're focused on performance and performance optimization only. Asset Cleanup is one of those tools. Asset Cleanup has free features for you to be able to use. It also has paid features, but it is free and it has free features. This is a plugin that I started to use once I learned that you can combine a caching plugin with a performance plugin, and we needed our websites to be even faster. Sometimes caching doesn't give you the exact level of speed that you're looking for. It gave you a boost, but you need a little bit more to get faster. This is where a performance plugin comes in, and Asset Cleanup is one of the best. Now, it's not the one that I'm currently using, but like I said, I started using this first until I found another one that I liked even more, and I'll show you that here in a second. With Asset Cleanup, you have your settings here, and this is where you would actually start setting things up. Now, you can see if you see a lock over it, it's not a free feature. However, there are so many overlapping features like optimized CSS, optimized JavaScript, local fonts, Google fonts. They even have some features that you may have in a security plugin on this, right? Again, this is all about performance. It's not caching, but performance. So this is where you want to go in and you want to optimize your website even more by using this tool. I'm telling you, it is a game changer. This is Asset Cleanup for you all, and it's a dope tool, all right? And you can turn on and off certain scripting, certain scripts, so that way things aren't always loading. And that's why I love this tool, because for instance, this is a very powerful tool when you are doing e-commerce. It can be used for anything, but especially when you're doing e-commerce or you have a third-party page builder, something like an Elementor or a Divi, where it's loading scripts on all these pages, even when you're not using the features of that tool on that page. Guess what? It's still loading those scripts and it's slowing down your website. So you want to use something like Asset Cleanup to get more granular, to be able to optimize page by page. That, my friends, is a sweet spot right there that it took me years after my WordPress journey to even understand that sometimes these third-party page builders or certain plugins like WooCommerce, it's going to load on everything or places where you don't want it to load and you're not even using it. That's where a tool like this comes in. Now, one of my favorite tools that's an alternative of Asset Cleanup is Perf Matters, except Perf Matters, it's not a free plugin. It costs, right? However, I like Perf Matters a little bit more than Asset Cleanup, but they are essentially the same tool. They just do things a little differently. And like I said, I like Perf Matters a little bit more than Asset Cleanup, and that's just my opinion on that. But essentially, they do the same thing, okay? So if you're gonna go with a performance optimization plugin, you need to decide whether you wanna use Asset Cleanup or Perf Matters. As I mentioned in the official course, we'll dive deeper into setting those up. That's if you all are interested in them. Now, I talked about caching. I talked about image optimization. I recommended either using a plugin from the WordPress repo for caching or using your host caching plugin or their caching method. Sometimes you don't even need the plugin. Or use WP Rocket, which is universal. Most hosts, shared hosting, or managed hosting can use WP Rocket. It's compatible. The next part, I've already alluded to this before, is your CDN. There are two CDNs that I recommend that you look into and that you use. Do not use two CDNs at the same time. That's not what you want to do, one or the other. One is going to be Cloudflare. This was the CDN that I started with, and I love Cloudflare still to this day. We actually use Cloudflare with Kinsta. The beautiful part is some hosts have now integrated on the hosting level with Cloudflare. So now you don't even have to set it up yourself. They'll set it up for you through the hosting. So look into that when it comes to your host. If you don't have that availability to do so, or you can't do so, that's where you want to create a free Cloudflare account. Once you do, you'll get verification, and then you'll be able to access Cloudflare here in the backend. Now, the great part about going the host route is you don't even have to look at this anymore. I haven't seen the back end of Cloudflare in a long time. Why? Because when I was using SiteGround, they hooked up to Cloudflare automatically. Then when I started using Kinsta, they hook up to Cloudflare as well. So I haven't had to use Cloudflare from the backend side forever. However, if you need to, there are so many tutorials out there. It's ridiculous on how to set Cloudflare up. And it will not only give you a great speed boost, but it gives you protection as well. Now, here's the thing. When you're using a CDN, a content delivery network, make sure that it's necessary, because sometimes you can hurt your website using a CDN and most of your traffic is local traffic versus a content delivery network. It's better used when you have global traffic or traffic coming from other places that are not close to your main server, wherever you're hosting at. So say you're hosting in Los Angeles, California, but most of your traffic is in Washington, DC. You might want to use a CDN, or you're hosting in, we'll say, Tokyo, Japan, right? But a lot of your traffic is coming out of the UK. That's when you want to use a CDN. So hopefully you're catching on to this drift here and this is making some sense. But if you want extra protection and you have minimal global traffic, sometimes using a CDN is also helpful. So those are just things that I would look into. Now, I use 2 CDNs, but not at the same time and not for the same reasons. Let me explain. I use Cloudflare through my hosts, right? As a CDN, but then I also use another CDN. I know, follow me here. We're going to get there. I use another CDN called Bunny.net. And Bunny.net, when I was first introduced to Bunny.net, it was an alternative to Cloudflare that was, for me, much easier to set up and manage. Because Cloudflare, there's just so many settings. There's just so much you can do. But at the same time, at that time, Bunny.net has not only the CDN, but it also had storage. And I was using it to store files. Then they started getting streaming for video. So Cloudflare and Bunny.net, I noticed that Cloudflare started taking some of Bunny.net's moves when it came to like stream, right? And then obviously Bunny.net came after Cloudflare. So they've kind of been, pulling each other. They've been taking each other's moves, studying each other, kind of like Apple and Google, or, the iPhone and Samsung, kind of things like that. But they are great CDNs. I love them both. I use them for different reasons. And the main difference between the two from a business model standpoint is Bunny.net does not have a free tier. There's no freebie of Bunny.net. However, you'll get pennies on the dollar. I kid you not. When I say that I added $50 5 years ago, I think it's 5 years ago, and I haven't ran out of that yet, it's pennies on the dollar. As long as you don't have crazy amounts of traffic. Now, if you got crazy amounts of traffic, well, that's different. We ain't talking about people with crazy amounts of traffic. If you have normal amounts of traffic, you put $50 in there, you put $20 in there, you put $10 in there, that's going to last you a long time. I'm trying to tell you, it's going to last you a long time. And they have a 14-day trial period where you get 1 terabyte of bandwidth, right? So it's something that you can try out 14 days. And if you like it, put your credit card information in there and continue, put that 20 in there, put that 30 in there, whatever you got to do. But it works wonders. I can't applaud them enough. I love them both, Cloudflare and Bunny.net. The main, outside of the business model, the main difference I would say from a technical standpoint that I'm not a fan of with Cloudflare, and the reason why I'm glad I have to use it through my hosting, the reason why I'm glad I use it through my hosting is because with Cloudflare, you have to give up your DNS. What do I mean by that? You have to allow Cloudflare to manage your DNS records, and I don't always like that. That annoyed me. I like my hosting or my domain name provider, my domain name registrar. That word's so weird. I like to do my management of my DNS either through my domain, where I bought my domain, or where I host my websites. I don't like to do it through Cloudflare. It just was too much for me, and I started getting really annoyed. So that's the main difference. With Bunny.net, you don't have to change DNS. You don't have to move over your DNS, your domain name server, to Bunny.net. With Cloudflare, if you're not going through a host, for the most part, as long as I've been using it, you have to use their DNS to manage your records. That's key right there. If you need to do that, if you don't want to do that, then don't even think about using Cloudflare. Go with Bunny.net. So you got to give and take, right? You have Cloudflare that has a free tier, but it's going to take over your DNS. Like that's what you're giving up for that. But then you have Bunny.net that has only paid subscription. However, again, it's very, very cheap to pay for, and you don't have to give up your DNS records. So this is what I would use as well to boost my speed. These are the main strategies or I guess it would be tactics. So my overall strategy is using these together in a very intentional way. But the tactics are, you need cache. You got to have a caching plugin. You want to have an image optimization plugin. Then you want to think about, do you need a performance optimization plugin like an asset cleanup or a perf matters? And then you also want to think about, do I need a CDN, a content delivery network? Those are the 4, I would say, tactics I would use in order to optimize my website, and that will put you up there in a stratosphere. Now, we can get deeper and say, well, what kind of page building tools are you using? How many plugins do you have on your website? This ain't for that. But I'll say in a nutshell, the more plugins you have, the slower your website gonna be. And if you're using a third-party page builder, you're automatically adding bloat to your website. You can argue that to the grave. So if you're not using Gutenberg, the native page builder in WordPress's solution for building out your pages, if you're not using that and you're adding a third-party page builder, well, you're automatically going to drop down some levels of speed. It is what it is. I'm not telling you not to use it. What I am saying is you need to understand that truth. You're automatically going to lose some speed. So that's why it's important for you to understand these things. But no matter what you use, whether you're going with Gutenberg, the WordPress editor, or you're using a third-party page builder, these things that I just showed you right now in this lesson, these are the ways that you get your website at a 90 or above. And now let's talk about that, since we are at the tail end of this lesson, for testing the website. So if you are testing your website, you want to use, I would say, one of 3, if not all 3 of the tools that I'm going to show you right now. The first one you definitely want to use and take into account is PageSpeed Insights by Google. You want to use this one. If I were you, this is the 800-pound gorilla more than anything, because it's a Google-based tool and most of us are trying to get fast to appease Google. Let's keep it all the way real. It's only some of us that are trying to get fast for Bing or for Yahoo, for whatever other search engines are out there. But most of us, when it comes to our search engine optimization and SEO, and we'll save that for another lesson, we are trying to get fast for Google. So use Google's tool, but just don't count on Google's tool. Use a second opinion, like a doctor giving a diagnosis. Google is diagnosing your website. Get a second opinion. So another tool you can use would be GT Metrics. This is a great speed test tool. It's also free. However, if you want to test for mobile speed, you got to pay for it. Google will show you mobile and desktop. GT Metrics is only going to show you desktop unless you pay for mobile. So this is one way to do it. Another tool is Pingdom, and this tool is the tool that I actually started with back in the day when I was testing websites, before I heard of GT Metrics and before Google's PageSpeed Insights got more popular, before they created this tool. It was Pingdom back in the day. This was the one that, for me, is like the origin story. This was the one that started it all. However, I started using PageSpeed and GT Metrics even more. Now I use all 3, but I always start with PageSpeed Insights. And I look at these scores, and then I compare the scores to see what is the pattern, what is the general. I don't let one make the decision for me as far as, well, I'm getting fast speeds on this one, and this one weighs higher than the other one. Nope. I want to get an average score between the 3. So once you do all your optimization with your tools, go here, PageSpeed Insights, GT Metrics, and Pingdom, and you will get some really good information back at you that will let you know, is what you have done, was the juice worth the squeeze. Okay, so the whole point is it'll let you know, was your efforts worth it? That's the key. So hopefully you all got something out of this lesson as far as my thought process when it comes to optimizing a WordPress website for speed. These are the things that I do for every website. I think about this. Do I need this? Do I need that? Obviously, I'm going to need a caching plugin. That's always mandatory. In my opinion, you need caching. You also need image optimization. In my opinion, that's also mandatory. Caching and image optimization. Performance optimization, that's as needed. Because if you don't need it, if your website is fast without performance optimization, don't add it to your website. Don't add more extra stuff just because you think that it's going to make your website faster, because sometimes it can hurt your site. There could be conflicts. And then when it comes to a CDN, that's another do I need it, a case-by-case basis scenario. So you have your caching and image optimization. That should be mandatory. And then you have your performance optimization and your CDN. That should be on a case-by-case basis. All right. My name is Maestro Stevens with Iconic Templates, and I'm out. Peace. Welcome to Lesson 8. In this lesson, we're going to discuss setting up your website for basic SEO and web analytics, as well as look at some opportunities for adding custom code to your website, sometimes without having to know the code yourself. When it comes to your WordPress website, I just want to give you some ideas how you want to think about setting your website up for SEO purposes and web analytics purposes. What I've already done is installed some SEO plugins that I just want to show you, and then I'll let you know what I use. And then we're going to go over some other third-party tools as well that you may want to think about when doing SEO and website analytics. So let's just start here. As you can see, I have a few plugins on here, but most of them are redundant because I just wanted to show you there are a lot of options out there. We have all-in-one SEO, we have Rank Math SEO, we have SEO Press, and Yoast SEO. If you go to the WordPress repository and you just type in SEO, you'll see that these are the 4 top ones: Yoast, Rank Math, All-in-One, and SEO Press. These are going to be the main SEO plugins that you'll want to think about which one you want to use, which one makes sense for your website, for your needs. The SEO plugin that I use is going to be Rank Math. I used to use SEO Press, but then I just found I like Rank Math a little bit more because some of the features that it comes with, that's all. But SEO Press is a great option. For the most part, I will definitely say if you don't need it, there's no specific reason why you need it, I would avoid Yoast. It's not that I have anything against Yoast personally. They just had some questionable scenarios that happened in the past, and they can get pretty expensive once you start adding add-ons, other features that you need from an SEO plugin. Yoast will not give those for free, and they'll wax you, or they'll make you pay for every, single add-on. Whereas with Rank Math, outside of the new features that it has, like the AI and other things like that, it's free and it will do mostly everything you need for it to do. And then if you want to pay for the pay plan, it has some pro features as well, but it's not like they're trying to nickel and dime you for every single feature. So that's the reason why I'm a big fan of Rank Math. Plus, Rank Math is compatible and integratable with so many other different tools because it's more popular. Yoast used to be the mecca. It was the 800-pound gorilla, like WooCommerce is to e-commerce for WordPress, but Rank Math has become a household name as well too. So that's why I just wanted you to see these are all great options. My recommendation is either use Rank Math or SEO Press or even All-in-One. Yoast, even though, yes, it's popular, it has this, I think that they get this based on because it's one of the biggest known SEO plugins. They're one of the most popular SEO plugins, and it helps when you have 10 million active installations. You're going to get more installations just from you showing you have a lot of installations. So let's go to install plugins here. And that's the first thing I want to start with. When you're thinking about SEO for WordPress, you want to think about an SEO plugin. No, SEO is not just a plugin. You don't just add a plugin to your website and all of a sudden your website is SEO'd. That's not how it works. It will get you, like, we'll say 70 to 80% of the way. Then you got to do some other things to help improve that. All right, let me just activate Rank Math real quick. When I do, it's going to go through a prompt, or it's going to go through the onboarding experience that I'm not going to go through here in this video. I'm going to skip for now, and I'm going to return to the dashboard. But I just want you all to see that it does walk you through what you should or shouldn't have on. But for the most part, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm a big fan of Rank Math because they make things pretty easy. As you can see, there's some pro features here. You can see there's a lot of free features. These are free features that do a lot for your website. That's one thing that I love about Rank Math. And there are plenty of tutorials and videos out there, as I mentioned. So what I'm going to do is get deeper in the official video, but I just wanted you to see this is what I use when it comes to SEO. We're just going to start right there. Now, when it comes to your web analytics and adding that ability to be able to track and measure what you're doing, there are 2 main ways that I would suggest that you use. Either a plugin via WordPress or Google Tag Manager. So right now, the plugin that I would recommend that you use would be Pixel Your Site. This is a great plugin for those who don't want to learn Google Tag Manager, and for those who are just using WordPress. You typically don't need to use Google Tag Manager if you're only going to be doing basic and fundamental tags. I would avoid Google Tag Manager because it can get a little cumbersome and confusing at times. However, I'm not saying that Google Tag Manager is not necessary. Sometimes it is necessary and you don't want to use Pixel Your Site. And that's something that I've had to learn as well too. There's certain companies that I work with that I would recommend Google Tag Manager over Pixel Your Site, even if they're using WordPress. It may be sometimes because they have so many other third-party tracking platforms that don't work well with Pixel Your Site, or Pixel Your Site doesn't have the ability to integrate with. And that's when I'm like, we need to use Google Tag Manager. Plus, with Google Tag Manager, you may get even more flexibility. And remember, with flexibility comes complexity. You gotta add those two together. With flexibility comes complexity. So for Pixel Your Site, the free version is pretty self-explanatory. It comes with Facebook and Google, and all you have to do is add your Google Analytics tracking ID. And that's pretty much it for there. If you want to do custom events and add more events, you can do so here by adding an event right here. It's very parallel to what you'll be doing in Google Tag Manager. So let me go to Google Tag Manager real quick. And just to show you that with Google Tag Manager, the way you look at it is you create these tags, and then you have triggers and you have variables. So tags are basically like the events here that you have here. And Google Tag Manager also has variables as well, and they also have triggers, but they call triggers something else. But it's all the same thing, just a different naming convention. I'm just letting you know that's pretty much how it is. With Google Analytics, now that Google Analytics 4 is officially the global tool that everybody's using because they got rid of Universal Analytics, I don't even have to bring up the whole Universal Analytics thing as far as you switching from this to that, because if you haven't done it by now, it's too late. They've already made their moves. But with Google Analytics, we are using GA4. It is changing every month and often, while they optimize it. But for the most part, it can be a little confusing for those who are new to it. So I just want to let you know that if you are new to Google Analytics and Google Analytics 4, GA4 specifically, we're going to dive deeper in the official course. But you want to add your, what they call a data stream, add your website here in data streams right here. And you would choose web for those of y'all using WordPress. And then you would add your website URL, your stream name, pretty much leave all these settings on. But there are some optimization opportunities that I want to show you all later that most people don't think about. However, as I always say, Google loves Google more than Kanye loves Kanye. That's a lot of love. And so Google Analytics is going to play really well with Google Tag Manager, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't play well with Pixel Your Site, because all you're pretty much doing here is adding in your tracking ID that you will get from Google Analytics. Once you go through this setup data stream right here, it's going to give you a tracking ID. So I just want to let you know that right now. Now, here's the thing that I think a lot of people skip out on because they're not thinking about their website from a Google search engine perspective. The thing about Google Analytics is that you could be using this on multiple, how do I say, well, they call it streams, but you can have this on iOS, Android, web, and you can also use this for other reasons outside of just Google search, meaning that it's counting on your traffic, right? It's not about Google search. Yes, it does integrate and it is showing you Google search information as well, meaning people searching on Google, but it's about all traffic. No matter where your traffic is coming from, that's what Google Analytics is for. So don't get this confused when I show you this next part, because a lot of people do. They look at Google Analytics and sometimes they think it's only about Google, and it's not, okay? Now, Google Search Console, and that's why the word search is in it, Google Search Console, this is all about Google search. So where Google Analytics will measure traffic coming from all sources, Google Search Console is measuring your traffic coming from Google Search. It's a great tool if you are looking to do real SEO and optimize your website for Google, and Google has like what, 80-90% of the internet. I don't know what it is at the time of this video, but they own the internet search engine marketing share. You definitely want to add Google Analytics to your website in tandem with Google Search Console. And the great part about this is if you go to product links here, you see Google Search Console links, you can connect your property. So you can connect Google Search Console with Google Analytics, and that way you can see data from Google Search Console right in your Google Analytics. That's something that I see a lot of people skip. They don't even think about that. I'm like, yo, you missing out on a lot of different data points that can give you a bigger picture. And it's just going to help you make decisions better on optimizing your website for later. So that way you can get better, more traffic, quality traffic. You can get better conversions. You can just do so many things. Speaking of conversions, it is crazy how they did rename conversions to key events. People still call them conversions in Google Analytics. They're technically conversions, but they renamed them to key events. And Google Analytics 4, it tracks and measures through events. Unlike the Universal Analytics, their previous way of doing things, it wasn't doing things by events. It was more by sessions. So this is events. Universal Analytics was by sessions. Google Analytics is about events. Like, what are the activities happening on your website? Those are called events. All right. And then key events are conversions, and you can set those up as well too. And I'll show you how to set those up in the actual official course. So we have Google Tag Manager here, we have Google Analytics, and then we have Google Search Console. And Google Analytics integrates with Google Search Console as well as Google Tag Manager with Google Analytics. Okay. The next one is going to be Clarity. Now, this is my favorite user behavior tool. And when people talk about user behavior, when people talk about UX, user experience, they sometimes only count on Google Analytics to give you user experience. And I'm like, no, that's not what you want to do. There's a reason why there's a tool out there called Hotjar. It was very popular. It still is very popular. But then Microsoft Clarity said we can do better in terms of offering just something like Hotjar, but it's only focused on user behavior and it's free. There is no paid plan for Microsoft Clarity. And you get to see so much data in a different way. Not only do you get to see similar data to Google Analytics, but you see data that you won't find in Google Analytics, such as recordings, right? And heat maps. You will not find recordings and heat maps in Google Analytics. You're just not going to find it. And this is important. Why? When we're talking about user experience, we're talking about optimizing for the user experience. We want to see what they're doing, how far they're scrolling, what they're clicking on, what area are they clicking on. These are very important things that Google Analytics 4, as dope as it is, it's not gonna show you that information. So we have to be careful when we use this word user experience in tandem with website analytics, and we're only thinking about Google Analytics, whereas Microsoft Clarity is literally just that. This is us being able to see the user's experience, where we can see what the users are doing, not just through data, but for real, meaning like we have recordings. They have recordings, and then they also have live as well too. You can see people scrolling on your website, experiencing your website live. That's why it says no live recordings found. Kind of weird they call it recordings when it's live, but either way, they say no live recordings found. But you're able to see exactly what a person is doing on the website, where they're scrolling at, where they're moving at, and then you can optimize from there. That's something to think about when you are thinking about user experience, optimizing for user experience. Okay. And then when it comes to connecting these tools with your website, one of the ways to do so, everybody doesn't do it this way, but one of the ways to do so is going to be Sitekit by Google. This is Google's tool. This is the official Google tool for WordPress. Okay, so it's not a third-party tool. It's an official tool that allows you to connect your website. I'm not going to sign in right now, but it allows you to connect directly to Google Tag Manager. It allows you to connect directly to Google Analytics, to your Google Search Console. It allows you to connect directly to your properties from these tools with Google Sitekit. That's why they have their logo right there. And I use it all the time. This is one of my favorite ways of connecting my analytics properties. Now, what I do is I will connect through Google Analytics here, and then I'll shut off the connection, because you can connect your website to your Google Analytics through Pixel Your Site, but then you can use Sitekit to actually show you the data. And what I love about Sitekit is it will show you a dashboard just like Analytics here or just like Search Console. Now, it won't show you all the data that you would find in Google Analytics or Google Search Console. It won't show you all this data, but it will show you a good amount of it. And then it will display a link that you can link directly to those reports. And then it'll open up Google Analytics or it'll open up Google Search Console. So you got to think about that when it comes to, do you want to see your analytics directly in WordPress? If you don't want to see your analytics directly in WordPress and you don't want to connect your website to Google Analytics through Google Sitekit, well, then you probably don't need Google Sitekit. I'm gonna just be honest and real with you right there. You don't need it. But if you want to see Google Analytics on your website, that's one reason why you may want to use Google Sitekit, right? Another reason is it connects directly to Google Analytics and you can bypass Pixel Your Site. Now here's the thing, with Pixel Your Site, it allows you to create events, right? You can create custom events, things that you want to track that aren't tracked out the box by Google, because Google Analytics, it does track a lot of things natively out the box, way more than it did with Universal Analytics. box. I'm telling you, and it's dope, right? It saves you so much time. However, it doesn't track everything, and there's some custom things that you may want to track on your own. So it's best to do so either using Pixel Your Site, creating an event, or Google Tag Manager by creating a tag. You want to do it one of those two ways, either Pixel Your Site, creating an event, or Google Tag Manager, creating a tag to track custom events. Then you got to go into Google Analytics, and then you got to set up your custom events through this way. And that's something that right here, you can see key events. So you see events right here, right? You want to create an event. Then after you create the event, you'll see your key events right here. Remember, key events are basically conversions. Do not get them confused. We have events, we have key events. Key events are basically conversions. So you want to first see what is already set up on your behalf. And what I like about this, it says mark as key event. All I have to do is toggle this on. When I toggle this on, it'll appear here in key events. That easy. So then you can start tracking your conversions in Google Analytics just like that. Now for custom events, there is more, I'll say, developer type of things you need to do. And I'm saying developer on a fundamental level because, like I said, it's not that hard once you do it a few times and then you memorize or you have noted down that workflow and then you want to do another one, you want to follow that workflow. Otherwise, Google does a really good job by once they catch an event, once you make an event, you can click this button and it'll turn it to a key event. So that's something to think about right there. Microsoft Clarity also integrates with Google Analytics. Now, in my opinion, the integration is cool. It doesn't do anything special except shows your Google Analytics and Microsoft Clarity. Then you can compare and contrast. I'm on the Microsoft Clarity demo here and it's in the settings area, so that's why you don't see it, but you can compare and contrast. It's cool. I'm still waiting for more things or what else I can do with it, but for now it's cool. The main thing you want to think about is making sure that in your Google Analytics that you have your Search Console connected with your Google Analytics. So you have Search Console connected with Google Analytics and that you definitely have your Google Analytics. If you don't have Google Analytics connected to your website, well, then what are you doing? You're not really tracking anything, and then you won't see any data in your analytics. So it's something for you to think about too. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you was if you need to add code to your website, right? And you don't want to do it the developer way, which is what we're here for. This is what this course is for, not doing things the developer way. This is where you want to add a code snippet plugin like WP Code Lite or Code Snippets. I love these plugins, even though I don't use them specifically. I use another plugin called WP Codebox, which is a paid plugin, and it's the same thing as the ones I'm showing you, except I like this because there's just some features with it that the other ones don't have. Plus, I got a lifetime deal when it came out a few years ago, and they've been optimizing it ever since. So I'm like, well, I don't need to use something else. I'm not going to use something else. But for those of you all who are on a budget and you can afford to, get a paid code snippet plugin because there's so many other things you have to pay for, and I get it, trust me. With code snippet plugins, basically, you're able to add code to your website, or you can use one of their pre-made code templates, and in that way you can avoid having to add a plugin when you need a specific type of functionality. You want to, hide something, you want to disable something, you want to add duplicate, you want to do these other things to your website that don't come out the box with your website. You can add a code snippet to your website and avoid adding a plugin. I love that. That saves so much bloat, so many plugins, so many possibilities of issues and conflicts happening on your website just by adding a code snippet. So you got to think about that. That's pretty much all you have to do is add a code snippet and you're there. And then sometimes these plugins will give you the ability, let me see, add new snippet right here. So add custom snippet, boom. So you would add your code snippet here. And this is the great part about the time. I'm not going to go off on a tangent. I'm not going to do a rant. But I'm gonna let you know, this is a great time in history from a technology standpoint where if this were a few years ago, you would have to look up, you'd have to either know the code or have to look it up on some website or something like that. You don't have to do none of that no more. You can use a ChatGPT or a Claude or a Gemini or whatever to whip up the code for you and then you plop it in here. You couldn't do that years ago. I'm trying to tell you, like, that used to get on my nerves how much research I had to do to find certain snippets or to find certain things, or I had to talk to a developer or use a developer. And now you can use AI to whip up a code snippet and then you copy and paste that joint and you put it right here. And then you're all good to go. That's why I'm saying we are spoiled right now all over the world because of AI when it comes to building out websites. But just make sure that you do this responsibly because I'm not saying that this is a method that won't cause issues, will never cause issues. I'm not saying that. It can cause issues too if you have conflicting code snippets or you're not being responsible managing and organizing your snippets, or putting wrong code in, right? You don't even want to put wrong code in. However, this is way better than what it used to be back in the day. I'm trying to tell y'all. It's way better than what it used to be just a few years ago. So this is some secret sauce I'm giving y'all. Stop using plugins for minuscule functionality, for small functionality. If you're going to use a plugin, make sure that it's not only a plugin that's tried and true, that's popular, that works, but has multi-purpose functionality. Otherwise, use a code snippet if it's only a couple things you need from that plugin or one thing you need from that plugin. Stop adding a whole bunch of plugins like you a kid in the candy store when you in this WordPress repo, aka the repository, because that's going to get you in trouble. So hopefully this was helpful for those of y'all who are just getting into WordPress or needed a refresher. I appreciate everybody who has watched this course, who has stuck with me, who has learned something, who has commented on any of the videos or gave a thumbs up. I appreciate every single person, because this was not easy to make, and the official course is going to be harder, right? This was something that I'm like, let me create a course, a preliminary course, the kind of the precursor. I don't know how to say that, but something to get you guys ready for what's getting ready to come. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm on that Thanos. I'm on my Thanos, right? I want to get y'all ready for what's ready to come, but I also want your feedback. I want your opinions. I need them, because I want to polish this course off, so that way when I create the official course and I release it to the public, the investment is justified by how much time and effort that I put into it by listening. My ears are small, right? They're small, but they hear well. By listening to you all before I put too much inside of something that you all didn't even want to learn or didn't even want to know. So I just want to say again, thank you for rocking out with me. Thank you for being here. For those of y'all who watched the whole course, thank you again. I can't thank you enough. I'll probably say thank you one more time. Thank you. I feel like DJ Khaled. You special, you smart, and another one, and another one. Thank you, and another one. Thank you, and another one. Thank you. All right, y'all, get ready. I'm telling you, the official course Start Fresh on WordPress is about to be the fresherest, the freshest, the most fresh of the refreshness that you can freshery be. It's going to be that top joint. And with y'all's help, with your help, I'm going to make it worth it. We're going to have fun. It's going to be entertaining. Trust me, man. This is going to be one of the funnest, dopest WordPress courses that anybody has ever taken, that is a beginner of WordPress, hasn't used WordPress, just started using WordPress, or needed a refresher, or just wants to have some fun and have some laughs. Some people may take this course just because they want to crack up, because we gon' do that thing. My name is Maestro Stevens with Iconic Templates, and this was Start Fresh on WordPress. The beginning, the precursor, the introduction. This was the freshness. We out, and I'm out. Peace.